marketing. I don't know, mind your business.
Modern stock car racing features playoff formats that force exciting and controversial Game 7 moments. In which case, I think this is Game 1 of the 7-game series known as the NORC Season 13 Chase upon the hallowed grounds that need no introduction, no explanation. NORC Season 13, Round 20 from Indianapolis is coming at you now on Pit Stop TV. Welcome to the virtual Speedway, Indiana. Eric Brennan alongside this evening on the mic. Emerson Arden also joining us on the crew today. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and I welcome you all to this evening's Pit Stop TV coverage of the NORC iRacing Series. After last week's barn burner at Daytona, we hit the yard of bricks this evening to open the NORC Chase, featuring speeds climbing north towards and potentially beyond 200 miles an hour for the second week in a row. But Eric, everything is different in regards to the racing product.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, I'm very excited for this thing to get underway here. And you mentioned the fact that this is the first stage or first chapter, and who is going to become the champion for NORC this season. And this type of Xfinity car at this type of venue, this 2.5-mile behemoth, rectangular shaped and historic property, I think is the best choice for this opening act. And you can see here, it's fast, it's flat, it's daunting. On the front straightaway, it's narrow, and it oftentimes does provide some very interesting types of motorsports moments, whether it be good or incredible. I think we're going to get a lot of that here tonight, and I think it's also really going to allow the cream to continue to rise to the top, because this is a tough track to get around.
Yeah, you want to talk about incredible motorsports moments? Let's go back to this year's NORC Indy 500 here, where John Barry, David Shutt, and so many more had problems coming to the start-finish line, with David Shutt in the end won. It was rather exciting at a turn 4. I don't want to spoil anything too much further. You'll have to go back and watch it for yourself, but this place sets up for some wild moments. Now, of course, NASCAR now running on the road course. This evening, we're here on the oval, and I gotta wonder, Eric, do you think the design of the racetrack was intentional? I mean, it looks an awfully lot like a brick, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, there must be a little bit of irony to that theory and that speculation. As a matter of fact, I mean, let's not forget that there is still a stretch of bricks at that albeit important start-finish line there, a little bit past what would be the halfway point of that long straightaway. So yes, indeed, the Brickyard does in fact have its name, and a little bit of irony to the shape of this venue. And there's a look at that yard of bricks, where unfortunately the winner tonight's not going to have a chance to kiss the actual yard of bricks, but if they get creative enough at home, they may be able to celebrate in some capacity, as far as being able to wrap their hands around what is a very tough venue to negotiate, especially in a stock car.
Absolutely, and they have to do it with these standings looming above them. Now, things have changed. Through the entirety of the season, we've seen yellow numbers and such for the drivers that were in the top 12 and red for the drivers that were out. But now we've locked in our 12 drivers that will fight for a championship, Eric, which means they're locked in that NORC red. So Daniel Falkingham kicks things off with an 11-point lead to begin the chase. In a season that already felt like it was the year of Daniel Falkingham, that's gotta feel pretty darn good, and I think it goes a long ways to padding this offer, at least for Falkingham to try and win this championship. 11 points already.
That's a really good head start on the field. I mean, remember back in the day when the chase format was first arrived in the Cup Series, and everybody started with pretty much some even field or even keel as far as championship standings? Here, we kind of emulate the modern-day version with those additional points by virtue of the massive amount of success that Falkingham has had and those 6 wins. That's a great start. However, the momentum has started to shift, albeit slightly. I know it's only been 2 races since Falkingham last went to victory lane in Atlanta, but for Zoltan Herczeg to come out, our reigning NORC champion, for him to come out and get the job done on what was a wild card event at Legacy Daytona last time out, that's the kick of momentum that someone like Zoltan needs to kick off this playoff stretch, especially here at Indy. There's a whole other group of drivers, 10 strong, that have not been the dominators as far as the win column this season, who have an opportunity here to hit the reset button for the 7-race stretch and go for a NORC title.
So these are your 12 drivers, and as Eric mentioned, there are plenty that have opportunities to cut into the leads above, but when you consider that 11-point lead for Falkingham isn't just to Herczeg, that is 11 plus an extra, I gotta do some math here, 15 back to Oxendine. That becomes suddenly a 26-point lead. There we go. So, I don't know. My math is maybe a little bit wrong, but a 26-point lead suddenly to Oxendine and John Barry. Add 2 more, it's 28 back to David Shutt. Add 2 more to that, and it's 30 back to Jared Darling in 6th place. And suddenly you can see how this feels like Falkingham's season, even though we're only going into the first race of the chase. 6 wins on the season. That's 2 more than Herczeg has, and 11 more points again to start this off. The rest of the field you see there in red, you got Chad Oxendine, John Barry, David Shutt, Jared Darling, Brett Pincari with his win from Auto Club, Cody Miller with his win from Daytona, then Zach Lindgren, Will Klein, Sean Williams, and Howie Briss just barely squeaking by into the top 12. Aaron Smith gave up his position. Sheldon Lockey was the first one to get cut, so they line up 13 and 14, and then Hayes Booth and everybody else, they're battling to get up the 13th spot. And what I noticed there as well is even though they're not fighting for a championship, Ariati and Hayes Booth and Terrell Baker have all really turned things up lately and are going forward.
I bet they wish the regular season was just a little bit longer to try to get themselves up into what could have been chase contention for this playoff stretch. But especially looking at the slate and the schedule for this championship chase, I wouldn't rule out the odds of somebody who is not in playoff or championship contention ending up in victory lane in one of our races here on Pit Stop TV. You already hit the nail on the head with Ariati, Hayes Booth, TCB, of course, but there's a lot of other names that we're going to be seeing who are not racing for a title. They don't have as much to lose as the first 12 drivers that we rattled off here on the standings, who could be a little bit more aggressive, could get a little bit off strategy, and may be able to get themselves in the win column, which has been hogged up for the most part by Falkingham and Herczeg. So there's a lot to look forward to and keep up with here in this 7-race stretch. And like I said, I think Indy's the best place to get this thing underway because, you always want to win at Indy, whether you're racing for a championship or you're racing for a checkered flag. Winning is priority 1 at a track like this, and I think it's going to be evident once we get this race going.
Only time will tell. Qualifying beginning now for these drivers. We're going to take a quick pre-race break. We'll be right back with you with the tail end of qualifying coverage. And then, of course, today's race, the opening race of the chase. A lot of great points so far. Can't wait to touch on some more here in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. More coverage on the way.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You see at top of your screen there, Eric, Daniel Falkingham to the top of the speed charts in qualifying, but he is not too far ahead of Terrell Baker. 12 drivers have times in so far, a whole bunch more trying to put some times down. Qualifying underway at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and only a minute and a half to go here. Jared Darling now jumps up to second.
Rolling someone who is in fact in that top 12, and he is desperately trying to find victory lane. He thought he was going to have one of his best shots of the season last time out at Legacy Daytona. He was running in the lead pack. As a matter of fact, he did so well in that event. He actually ended up running a really solid race there until getting caught up in a late race accident. But you hit the nail on the head, Andrew. You said Ariati is starting to hit stride. Look at the lap time he just laid down. It's less than 100th of a second faster than that of Falkingham. Well, we're going to try and see what Zoltan Herczeg can put up on the board as he's now entering 3.
There's the number 96 car of Zoltan Hergzeg working into the fourth corner now. The blue 96 right down to the white line in turn 4. You can see the yaw that car holds through the corner right up to the wall. He'll run down to the yard of bricks and try to go fastest. We'll see where he goes on the timing charts. The 96 goes not quite fastest. Where did he go, actually? He's not in the top 10 at all. It looks like he did not get a time in right there, so he must have grabbed the wall somewhere that I didn't quite catch. That was interesting. Doesn't go on the board. I don't think he's going to get a time in then. So Zoltan Hergzeg could be starting 19th or worse this evening. Boy, that's going to change things up. He certainly will be. Ariati, it looks like, is going to have the pole. David Schutt, the only other car on the track that I think has a chance. He's coming out of turn 2, it looks like. Hayes Booth out there. I don't think he's going to get back to the line. Neither will Cody Miller. Actually, Hayes Booth does get there, but does he go faster? No, not quite. So that does it for qualifying, and that is about how they will line up. We'll go through the whole field here in a moment once the session transfers on over. It's done. So starting on pole. How about that for Ariati? That's got to feel pretty good for the driver of the 23 car. Daniel Falkingham, though, starting to his outside. Of course, the driver out of Jonesport, Maine, with 6 wins in the season already. It's going to be tough to top the 20 car this evening. Starting third place, it's last week's pole sitter, Jared Darling. A quick highlight from that as well. He ended up tying Femi Olot for second most poles in the NORC iRacing Series last week with his pole at Daytona. He's got Terrell Baker starting to his outside in 4th. Starting to the inside of row number 3, a new number for Tommy Gossett. He's going to be scored as the 10. He won't be visually the 10 yet. I guess we didn't quite get the memo on that one. But he is in that number 10 car this evening. Will Klein starting to his outside in the chase. He's got to turn something around for his season. Starting 7th, it's John Barry, also in the chase alongside a rookie and a driver in the chase, Zach Lindgren, in the number 85. Starting 9th place this evening, it's Spencer Ray in the 6th, with Sean Williams just barely squeaking by into the chase himself in 10th.
We'll get to the second batch of drivers with David Schutt in car number 5. He's 5th in the standings, going to be rolling off from 11th position here tonight with Tom Mercier on the outside in the 68 and 12. Not one of the drivers vying for a title, but he will be looking for a win tonight. Cole Frelick's in that same category as well. Fast all season, trying to find victory lane. A roll off in 13th. Outside, Chad Oxendine. The driver came into the night 4th in points, coming back in 14th spot. Got to stay out of trouble in the early laps here outside of row 7 is Oxendine. Take you back down to the 15th starting position where you'll find Howie Briss, one of the last drivers to squeak his way into championship contention, starting in 15th in car 97. And Hayes Booth, as Andrew mentioned earlier, he's been super quick lately. He'll start outside in 16th. 17th will be Matt Hummel in the 93. Outside Cody Miller, Daytona winner, also getting into the chase by virtue of that victory. And he will roll up to 28 in 18th spot. And rounding out your top 20, Zoltan Hergzeg all the way back in 19th spot with Bobby Chaney outside, rounding out the top side of row 10.
Starting from the 21st position this evening, it's going to be Spencer Owens in the 12 car with Sheldon Lockey to his outside in the 69. Starting 23rd this evening, it's Jared Rashawn. Made his first start last week and darn near put it on podium. The 27 starts 23rd. Brett Pancari, Auto Club winner and Chase Contender, starts 24th. And starting 25th, it's going to be Patrick Colby to the inside of Michael Keithley. Starting 27th, nobody, because we've only got 26 cars, it looks like. So 28 cars 2 weeks ago, 27 cars last week, 26 this week. It seems like there is, I think, pretty good consistency there. 28, 27, 26. I'm sure it'll go back up next week at Texas. We'll have to wait and see. I mentioned Texas as well. We haven't gotten to this point yet, Eric. But the way that we've gotten here so far this season, let's take a look at the schedule. Daytona to open things up through Kansas, Michigan, North Wilkesboro, Kentucky, Road Atlanta, Dover, Homestead, iRacing Super Speedway, Iowa, Nashville, Auto Club, Talladega twice, then Martinsville, Road America, Atlanta, and Legacy Daytona last week. Now we're at Indianapolis with a few more races ahead.
Yeah, we started off here at Indy, a beast of its own in Texas. Bristol Dirt is going to be a wild card for the championship run. Darlington, Phoenix, Chicagoland, one of the best intermediates that we don't see the Cup Series on this season. We'll wrap things up at Vegas. And as the field now comes through turn number 3, we are set to ride, as Andrew mentioned, the first chapter in this championship run. Starts and restarts are going to be huge. And we got a variable starting on pole in Ariati. This is going to be a lot of fun.
And the field works into turn number 4 for the first time as a cohesive group, and they'll work out of that 4th corner, lined up, ready to go, of course, down the famous yard of bricks to get this race started. The front stretch, Indianapolis, it's a long one. We're ready to get it started. We'll hand things over to TCB. Buddy, take it away.
Oh, Brickyard! Yeah!
I just love seeing stock cars thunder around the 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Down to turn number 3 will go for the first time, and look at TCB. He's up to second place already and charging after the 20 of Daniel Falkingham.
About somebody who's ready and raring to go. That yeehaw gave you an indication that TCB came here to play. He wants to be the highest running driver, not having to care at all about the chance for a championship, and he is in the slipstream of surprise Daniel Falkingham, who will lead lap 1 after taking the lead on the outside into turn 1. You don't see that often. It's Falkingham with about a car length and a half lead on an ever-closing TCB, who rides second.
Ariati sits in third. That beautiful 23 car working in the third spot. I like what I'm seeing out of Ariati all of a sudden. I mean, this has been a serious turnaround since mid-season. He started out, I think, just sporadically kind of running some races, and when he was around, he didn't run all that well, but then a couple of really good races in that mid-season have turned things around. But now, look at this. Terrell Baker looks to the inside for turn 3, thought about it, thinks better of it, and I think that was a pretty good idea to sit back behind Daniel Falkingham for at least 1 or 2 more corners. Now to turn 4, he stays behind the 20 car. These guys got some practice at running here at Indy, again, a couple of months ago in the Indy 500, but nothing from that race is going to translate over.
One of the things that I like that I saw there out of TCB's car is even though he didn't make the move, wasn't able to cement the pass quite getting into turn 3, it didn't break his momentum and cost him throughout the duration of the lap. He's able to get a little bit clean air there on that left front fender, gets a good drive off turn 1, looks to the inside for the lead in 2.
Out of turn number 2, things get oh so close, and Daniel Falkingham wins the race up off the corner, snaking down the front stretch. Now you see everybody mostly in a cohesive line, aside from these two up front, moving around, dancing around, doing a tango. Down to turn number 3. Oh my goodness, TCB right back to the back bumper cover of Daniel Falkingham, and that 20 car a little bit loose there out of turn number 3 that time.
This is something where I think Falkingham needs to be aware of what is going on here. This is somebody who is highly motivated, has not had the season that he would have hoped for. He's got a big fan base cheering him on here tonight, and he is hungry for success. Baker wants the lead. He wants it now. Falkingham wants to try to stay out in front and start this chase off in similar fashion to how he garnered up momentum early in this season with 2 wins in the first 3 races. He's doing a great job holding off Baker, but this has been Baker's strong suit. Off turn 2, he's got another good run cooking here on the backstretch.
There's a side-by-side further back. It looks like Chad Oxendine gets a spot over Howie Briss, and a couple of other drivers battle as Jared Darling nears the top 3. He gets right up to the 23 car of Ariati, but it's still these top 2 taking the show right now. And I gotta wonder how long TCB can do this. I mean, we know TCB can go fast. It's a matter of how long he can go fast before tearing up those Goodyear Eagles. And I mean, he is working all over the back end of Falkingham right now. He might look low this time. Does he make the move for the race lead across the line? He's to the inside. He's going to take it into turn 1. TCB leads in Indy.
And you saw Falkingham there drop back really quickly. He gave up going into the corner. He did not want to try to stay side by side, especially knowing that the car on the bottom could be a little bit vulnerable in that type of position. Now we're going to see what Falkingham could do as he has a bit of a slide off turn 2, running as the second car in line. That's Ariati pulling up to the back bumper of the 20. And as you mentioned, Andrew, Jared Darling creeping up into the frame here and now making it a 4-car knot at the head of the pack. Will Klein just a little bit further back there, rounding out the front 5 early in this race, with TCB starting to open up a little bit of an advantage here at the head of the pack. That car's hooked up early on tonight.
Yeah, he's got something going on for the number 25 car this evening. I mean, he is just on rails right now. He's starting to leave not Tommy Gossett just a little bit, but Daniel Falkingham a little bit in that second spot. Ariati sits still in third, but with his first chance to battle here with Falkingham since the start of the race. And I wonder how hard he might push to try and get on by the 20 car for the race lead, as TCB again starts to walk the dog a little bit. But now, look at that turn 2 from Daniel Falkingham. My goodness, he really left Ariati in the dust.
Which will play an effect, especially with these Xfinity Series cars. And off into the corner. It looks like the key to this race is going to be when you elect or when you time getting back to the throttle. And that may impact how well you get off the corner. And, of course, here with this rectangular-shaped venue, getting down these long front and back straightaways is an immediate key to success. And we're starting to see some of these drivers figure it out. Speaking of figuring out, Zach Lindgren is on the lead here. We also got a battle starting to materialize in the third. Ronald had a peek inside of Ariati for that third spot. May have had the pass made, albeit momentarily. That battle's going to continue on the short stretch. Adi fends him off for now.
And there was a block there from Will Klein at turn number 2, blocking Zach Lindgren from having a chance at 5th. Adi holds that spot, as you mentioned, Eric, and I had noticed Jared Darling was starting to get a whole lot closer to Ariati than Ariati ever got to Daniel Falkingham. I wonder if Falkingham backing up helped Jared get up there. And now you're starting to see, again, Zach Lindgren going after the 48 car. He wants to get into the top 5. He leads Tommy Gossett around in that number 10 car. And again, this is a driver who he's going to appear as the 00 for one more week on the ticker. We didn't quite get word that he was switching over to the 10, but making that first start in the number 10 now is Tommy Gossett. He rides in 7th, and he's another driver, Eric, who isn't in the chase, but has been really quick these last few weeks.
You got to love, of course, all these drivers want to vie for the illustrious title of a NORC champion, and right now only 12 of them have the opportunity to do so. That's obviously your objective when you start the season, but to know that you have these next 7 races potentially with not that much to lose, not that much on the line, you really don't have to be all that much conservative. I think that is, in a sense, something that these racers certainly live for and thrive for. And right now, Ariati and TCB, the leader, as a matter of fact, they're 2 of the front runners who are in that position. They don't have to worry about points. They don't have to worry about having to pinch a car down while running that second lane, which appears to be the only way you could try to defend your position around these 4 corners in Indy. They have so much to gain by trying to end their season on a high. And you mentioned a momentum shift in your intro earlier about some of these drivers, including that of Baker, Adi, and company. And this may be just what the doctor ordered. While some of these drivers are not going to force the issue, they can. And they've proven so far here, just 9 laps in, they will. And it's been fun.
So things just continuing to kind of stabilize. It looks like Jared Darling misses turn 2 just a little bit. Will Klein draws right up to the rear end of that 1 car. Maybe going to think about it to turn 3, I'm not so sure. But the momentum shift has been evident lately. We did not see a great start of the season as here comes Klein to the inside of the 1 car to turn number 3. We did not see a great start to the season, for example, from Jared Darling, who, while he just got passed for the 4th spot, has been really, really good as of late. That 1 car has been great. I don't know what it's been. I mean, these guys are on iRacing so often. It's not necessarily like they're out of practice at the beginning of a season or anything like that. It's just sometimes things change. There's a bit of an ebb and flow as to who's good and who isn't so good. As a caution flag is out, and Matt Hummel is the source of our first big crash. My goodness.
It happened coming off of turn number 4 for Matt Hummel, who was involved in this incident that will slow this race just about at the 1/8 mark, as we're about 10 laps into this 80-lap contest. Hummel was not running up in that lead pack. He was, however, running with Sheldon Lockie, who was someone who was vying for a chase opportunity himself. Came up a couple of spots short when the wild card dust was settled. You saw Lockie get through here. Here's Hummel by himself, getting back to the power. That car yawed out just a little bit here. Scrubs the wall on the outside.
Oh.
And is that Bobby Chaney who may have tagged him there? And bouncing off the wall comes Hummel, and that is what we talk about this narrow front straightaway, Andrew. That's why. If that would have happened in front of the leaders, that would have been massive. Fortunately for Hummel, he was towards the back of the pack, and we haven't logged enough laps for that to be a scenario, but he got tight, hit the wall, and unfortunately for Bobby Chaney, there was nowhere to go.
Well, look at that block as well. Those two are really fighting down to turn 3. Hummel did not want to give that spot up to Lockie. Lockie got there, and that moves Hummel to the outside for turn 3, and then in turn 4, I think he's just driving and seeing red, literally and figuratively. Of course, chasing that red 69 car, I think he just wanted to get up there and get back to Lockie. The car just goes at the racetrack into the wall hard. There's nowhere for Cheney to go.
We mentioned a couple of times already tonight, Andrew, about how important corner exit is. And I think that if you're someone like Matt Hummel and you're starting to lose the front end on the car, you really don't want to get out of it until you absolutely have to. But the problem is the competition behind you, or that is closing, which in this case it was Bobby Cheney. And you see Hummel here get kind of kicked up to the high side. I think once that front end starts pushing, you really don't want to relinquish control completely until you absolutely have to. But you got to realize that you got traffic incoming. And unfortunately for Bobby Cheney, he too was in full commitment mode to get off the turn 4 with a full head of steam. And once Hummel scrubbed off enough speed coming off the outside retaining wall, Cheney just had no opportunity to avoid Hummel's car right here.
Look at that hit to the wall and right down in front of the 24 car of Bobby Cheney. Nowhere for Bobby, of course, to go. He goes hard into the inside wall right there. My goodness. Really big hits for both of those drivers, and it should end both of their days. I would imagine Patrick Colby very lucky to snake on by that and get by that without issue. And he will not... Actually, no, he will take a pit stop. Everybody just about pitting under this first yellow. A few key drivers are staying out, those being Daniel Falkingham, Zach Lindgren, Tommy Gossett, Spencer Ray, and Spencer Owens. Everybody else, though, down the pit lane, including race leader TCB.
Who would have thought it would only take 12 laps to see the pit strategy get shuffled up here a little bit, and this is going to change how this race unfolds for sure. You see John Berry dropping the jack and taking some service. Dan Herzeg, who really did not move up all that much in the opening stages of this one. He's going to pick up a bunch of spots in the pit lane. Sean Williams, though, it looks as though it'll be the opposite of the fortune here, as he's going to be one of the last few cars to exit his pit box. He'll in fact be the 5th to last vehicle that pulls back out on the racetrack is Williams, while Ariati will parade the field back up onto the venue. One of the things I noticed there, maybe a little bit of strategy by Zoltan Herzeg. He appeared, last time I looked at the ticker, to be trapped back about in the 16th spot. Remember, he started back in about the 19th position, and I think Herzeg may use a little bit of strategy here. Granted, not everybody stopped, but of the drivers that did, he gained a few on the pit lane.
On a separate note, I do have to mention the damage to the back end of David Schutt's machine. I don't know where that came from, but you can see it a little bit here from the nose of Oxendine. I wonder how that might have come about. That's an interesting one. That kind of caught my eye. I'll be honest, I kind of spaced on everything else that was happening there, Eric, but I have to wonder where David Schutt might have been hit from the back end. Usually, let's be honest, David Schutt is a bit more aggressive. We saw that in the Indy 500 here, and if anybody is going to be doing any hitting around David Schutt, it's usually Schutt hitting somebody else. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that more so as he's moving somebody to take a position. But in this case, I think it's the exact opposite.
And it's hard to see, at least from my vantage point, doesn't appear to be any... when I see something like that, my first thought is maybe got up towards the wall, pedaled it, and got hit from behind. Not really seeing any right side damage on Schutt's car, so that is an odd set of circumstances for a driver who came into the night 5th in the chase standings here. So that's going to be a bit of a detriment potentially to his night. However, he's still running up in the top 10, but we look at the field as they run. Not surprised to see Daniel Falkingham going to lead us back down for the restart. I'm a little surprised, though, that he appears to have elected the outside for this restart. But I believe only the top 5 cars stayed out. Back to Spencer Owens, who runs back in the Owens, that is, in the 5th spot. Everybody else came down for service. We're going to learn relatively quickly here, Andrew, if tires are going to matter. And I see Herzeg coming back off the pit lane here, so he may have to restart towards the back.
I think he was just dipping down onto the access road in turn number 2. He'll rejoin right back in on the bottom side of row number 5. But you're absolutely right. 5 cars staying out. That's back through Spencer Owens. That includes Falkingham, Lindgren, Gossett, and Ray. Be interesting to see how these guys do, and tires certainly I think will matter. We can pull up the weather and check out how things are doing. It's pretty warm. The air, I guess the air temp is actually pretty calm. It's 69.2 degrees, and the winds are pretty stable as well. But the track is still 92 degrees. here in Speedway, Indiana. So it is still a little bit toasty for these tires anyways. Certainly not the 100 teens that we usually see for summer races at Indy, but it is still a little bit warm for these guys, and that will only tear up the tires a little bit, but I think that's going to be a pretty big advantage for Falkingham, and it's only going to help Zach Lindgren. It's going to stack everybody else up, I imagine, on this restart. So, coming to the first restart of the evening, the second start overall, Falkingham leads the field to the green flag, waiting for the signal, and we are back green from Indianapolis. Tommy Gossett with an early move. He's down to the inside of Zach Lindgren for a moment, but out of turn 2. The 85 powers back to second place and leads Gossett down the backstretches. Look at that. Will Klein blocking. I think that was John Barry. He just blocked down to the apron. All the way down to the grass. They went as Gossett charges for second.
Looked as though at that time they were trying to protect the bottom side, but here comes Gossett now, hunting the bottom side off of turn 3. Everybody's still running side by side after that double file restart, and look at this run on the outside here, trying to cement that position, keep it off the wall there. That got tight as they come off the corner. Gossett's not going to be able to make the pass just yet. Lindgren holds on to that second spot, but they've lost a second to Falkingham in just this opening lap after the restart. This battle for second will continue through turn 1.
And Zach drove a couple of car lengths deeper that time than Tommy. That was a pretty impressive corner, honestly, that Zach even made it. There's some more fighting back behind, and I think Terrell Baker is involved. Yes, he's to the inside of David Schutt, taking the 6th position away to move in behind car number 6. He's bringing the 66 along with. That's Chad Oxendine behind these two side by side down to 3.
TCB, who led a number of laps early in this race, now putting his car in whatever position he needs to get back towards the front, and he's opened the door, and he's not the only one walking through it. Schutt's still pinned up to the high side. No, he's shut down low. Pun intended there to try to shut the door there on Oxendine to hold on to that spot, but TCB's charge forward is not done. He doesn't get off the corner as well as he would have liked, though. Doesn't necessarily close up on Ariati. Let's go 3 wide to turn 1. Is that going to work? They funnel back out single file. John Barry now to the inside of Oxendine. This is good stuff.
And Hayes Booth also in a new number, in the number 2 now instead of the 11. He's joining these guys side by side. Darling down to the bottom of Schutt. He's going to try and bring Revin along with, and Revin can't quite get there. The 66 in behind. They snake down the front stretch. Darling looks to the inside now of Spencer Ray as TCB looks to the inside of Ariati. That would be good for 4th if he can get it. He will down to the inside of turn 3 as Darling gets that spot away from Spencer Ray.
Some of these drivers doing an amazing job being patient, trying to work their way back up towards the front of the pack and navigate their way around some of these cars that stayed out. You see John Barry pulling down low and making a pass. Here's Oxendine after getting shuffled out. Now back to the bottom on David Schutt, running about as side by side as two cars can humanly get locked together as they almost touch going into turn 1. Spencer Ray just ahead. Now Will Klein's going to try to fill the hole in the bottom. Boy, once you get kicked up top, if you got a freight train of cars behind you like right now, David Schutt does, it's very hard to get back to the inside. How about that set of corners for Klein as he squeezes up in front of Oxendine? 2 for 1 there for Will through the first set of corners.
Down the backstretch now he'll go, and he squares up Spencer Ray for a move. Down to turn number 3, and it looks like he's going to try and go to the inside. He will, and Ray just moves over and gives that one to him. Ray's on old tires. He knows he's a little bit slower and gives that spot up with ease. While that's all happened, TCB has just gone and driven around Tommy Gossett and Zach Lindgren in the same lap, and he's bringing Jared Darling along with.
This is going to be the true litmus test to how much tires matter here, as you see Lindgren letting off the throttle before they get to turn 1. Going to allow Jared Darling to move up. Or I stand corrected, that was Tommy Gossett that Darling just got around. Lindgren is in his gun sights up ahead as Jared Darling is on the same plan and the same flight path as TCB for the time being. Great run off of turn 2. Down the inside of Lindgren comes Jared Darling to try to take 3rd. But this is going to be the true test here to see how much tires matter. We know that TCB has a fast race car. Since getting up to the runner-up spot, he's already gained 0.3 of a second on Falkingham, while Darling cements the 3rd position in turn 3.
Spencer Ray, Tommy Gossett, Zach Lindgren all falling back. Spencer Owens is falling all the way to 18th. The one driver who has not lost a single position since the restart is Daniel Falkingham. He continues to lead on those old tires, now 19-lap old tires as we go on to the 19th lap of competition here at Indianapolis. Everybody else pitted on that first caution flag and is starting to really move through, continuing to really move through the field as TCB almost got the wall behind Daniel Falkingham, who also almost got the wall.
I'll tell you, that gap is starting to close, and it's starting to close quickly. It was about 1.3 seconds just a lap ago, and you see here as we ride on board with TCB, he is closing up on Falkingham really, really fast. In turn 3, look at how low he's able to hug the bottom of the racetrack. You don't necessarily want to hit that curbing that's below the apron. They both nearly scrubbed the fence there, preparing for their entry to turn 4, and a huge run by Baker off of turn 4. Is this where the move for the lead is going to come as we hit the quarter distance mark? He's not quite close enough yet. Falkingham, though, may yield. Not just yet. He'll hold the lead at turn 1. Baker, though, dives to the bottom, side by side for the lead.
TCB right down to the inside of Falkingham, side by side out of the first corner. Thank the trucker number 1 in behind to witness another pass for the lead from TCB. It might be 1 week too late, though. He really could have used a win last week at Daytona. We thought it was his best chance to do so, to wild card into this chase. Now, 1 week after being eliminated from contention, this 25 car is on rails. The tire's certainly helping, but remember, he went and drove by Falkingham earlier on as well. That 25 car is moving.
A little bit of resistance by Falkingham could have been Jared Darling's best friend, because that stalled their momentum just enough as they ran side by side for the short shoot at turn 2 to allow Darling to close up quickly and make this pass for second place. Into turn 1 comes Darling. Remember, he's on the same strategy as that of Baker. Falkingham on the same tires that he started the race with, now running in third. Berry not that far behind in fourth spot, and Will Klein has just moved back up into P5, where he was running at the time with the first and only caution so far tonight, after he just made a pass on Lindgren, who continues to fade to the top 10.
And that brings Hayes Booth along with. Hayes Booth is pictured again in a number 2 car, brand new number 2 car as well. He's still scored as the 11, so I wonder if that's going to change back next week. But sporting a brand new paint scheme is Hayes Booth as he moves on by the 85 car. Tommy Gossett still following Zach Lindgren through all of this moving around, and I wonder when that move might come for Gossett to try and finally get back, or I guess get by Zach for the first time. He tried on the restart, it just didn't quite pan out for him, as here comes Howie Briss as well. And Howie Briss, somebody that's very happy to have made this chase field, was thinking about switching up his paint scheme, but has decided not to just yet. He sticks with the old flames that he's had all season, and this 97 looking pretty good. He's in 9th spot.
Yeah, great run so far for Howie Briss, who is doing everything he needs to do. Kind of comes into this chase as a little bit of an underdog. I mean, not just because of the obvious fact that he was able to squeak in with the last spot that was up for grabs, but also due to the fact that the season has not been what Howie Briss may have wanted. Has yet to finish in the top 5, only 4 top 10s in the season, but there have certainly been flashes of brilliance. If he can come out here tonight and net what may be his first top 5 of the season, or better yet, even a victory, that would be a statement for Briss, and that he is here to contend. And he's got a good run coming off with turn number 4, trying to move further up the running order is that of Howie Briss. And look at some of the cars that he's running in front of right now. Ariani was in the top 5 earlier. Second in the points, Zoltan Herzeg just behind in 12th. It's been a great night so far for Howie, hoping to carry it all the way home to the checkered flag. And he's got a couple of positions up ahead of him that he can grab if he wants.
There's more battling back here with some of those drivers you were starting to mention there, Eric. In fact, Zoltan Herzeg with a mirror full of Sean Williams right now. Williams in the 12th position, wants to grab 11th, potentially a top 10 if he can get to and by Ariani. Williams, Sean looked for a second, but stays in behind Zoltan for turn number 3, and Chad Oxendine sitting there as well. Now, this is a proper super speedway by NASCAR terms, but I wonder if this racetrack might benefit Chad Oxendine a little bit. Well, maybe not. Cole Freilich makes that one look easy, goes right on by, and it looks like, I can't tell, I think we've just had a problem for Zach Lindgren. He was very slow on the top side of 3 and 4, loses 2 spots that time. I don't know if he got the wall or not, but the 85 slowed way down that lap.
It lingered somebody else who was on that alternate strategy. In fact, restarted up on the front row with Daniel Falkingham at the restart. Apparently struggling here with whatever aero conditions may be plaguing that car, plus the fact that he is on some of the oldest tires in this pack. He's still holding on to that spot there in the top 10 for now. And we talked about Zoltan Herczeg and his slow climb up through the running order. That's the first blue car you see in your frame. We're going to go on board with him now, trying to get up to the top 10. But what I believe may be the first time all night. He is hunting down Ariati, who has been fast, and he sees that Daniel Falkingham is currently holding down a podium spot in his ticker. He knows that he's got to go, but he is doing it the Zoltan Herczeg way, methodically. He's in the slipstream now of Ariati in what's going to be a fight for 10.
Let's keep in mind, this race is only 80 laps long. It's not as long as some other races that we've had this season and will have this season. It does come in at, 200 miles, but still, that's really not all that long for these guys. When you're going almost 200 miles an hour, it will go by relatively quickly. And this is a race where we can certainly see these guys get spread out. You see Howie Briss now looking to the inside of Gossett. That would finally be for the 6th position for Howie Briss. So he's getting close to that top 5 you were talking about, Eric, as Cole Freilich looked to the inside of Sean for a moment. Howie takes the spot over Tommy, and it seems like that 97 is just looking better and better. Race leader is still Terrell Baker. My point stands, though. This is a relatively short race, and look at this battle, actually, out of the 4th corner to the start-finish line.
How about Jared Darling? We've been talking about TCB all night long, and for good measure, but remember, Darling had to get around Falkingham a little bit later. Baker had that half-second advantage, but it looks as though that now it is Jared Darling who's able to hold that car a little bit lower through the corner, get a better drive off the corner like he's going to try to do here in turn 2. And we saw Baker use that defensive move off the front on the front straightaway. He'll do the same here on the backstretch. Bring that car all the way down to the apron. Darling will follow, and this race for the lead is heating up.
Great stuff between these two. Riding on board now with Jared Darling. You can see how low these guys get on the inside of turn number 3. And I mean, this is just insane what we're seeing from these two. We've not seen a run like this from these two all season long. We've seen flashes of brilliance, certainly, but nothing quite like this. And down to the inside wall, Terrell Baker protects, wants to keep that inside line. I mean, he is all the way down there on that white wall. And now Darling goes up high. TCB covers it up and holds the lead.
Basically, TCB is saying, if you want to get around me, you're going to have to do it on the high side, or maybe not. What a great run off of turn 1 for Jared Darling. He'll squeeze to the inside in turn 2. New leader, Jared Darling, to the point on the back straightaway.
Oh, but this is not over. Not at all. TCB was going to walk that spot back. You know what? I say it's not over, but that actually is quite the gap for Jared to already have down to turn 3. But I'd imagine TCB finds a way to at least get back there for one more shot at the race lead. It's already lap 27 and the back end thereof. We're getting closer and closer to lap number 30 and closer to, at some point, pit stops. They've got to be on the way as John Barry is all over Daniel Falkingham for 3rd.
Barry's another car that's starting to climb his way up through the running order, and he's not doing it quietly. This is a driver in John Barry who we've talked many times about his success this season, but that has all come without a victory. He's now trying to get around the win leader on the season thus far, the 6-time winner in that of Falkingham, for the 3rd spot to try to match where Barry was running when we started this championship chase. It seems as though that the key to success tonight is getting a good run off turn 2. Barry has it, but is it enough to try to draw up alongside that rear quarter panel of Falkingham? By the time they hit turn 3, not quite yet. Hayes trying to arrive on the scene to make it a 3-car race for 3rd, which Falkingham continues to hold down.
Hayes Booth is doing some great stuff this evening in that 11 car. Well, 11 to whichever one it may be. Hayes has got some speed this evening. We're seeing a lot of cream rising to the top that we've not seen at the top all season long, Eric. This might be one of the biggest wildcard races of the season. I know we said last week was supposed to be the wildcard, but suddenly we're seeing everybody coming out of the woodworks and showing their brawn this afternoon at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jared Darling still trying to walk away from Terrell Baker, but he's only got a couple of tenths, and things were really close that time at a turn number 1. In fact, they were down to a tenth or less. Now, lengthening that lead back out, it's, about a third of a second at this point, down to turn 3.
We mentioned that if Howie Brisk could put all the pieces together and have a solid night, that it could be a statement race for him. I'll go ahead and double down on that notion for the guy who is leading right now, and Jared Darling. I mean, 6th in the standings, as we mentioned, yet to visit victory lane. He was super hyped about the Legacy Daytona event last week. He knew that he was pretty much locked into the chase by virtue of his consistency all season long. But the fact that he has yet to find the winner's circle in NORC competition in Season 13 has been eating him alive. He is now in position with obviously one of the best 2 cars in his field so far tonight, as we're about 11 laps shy of halfway. This would not only be huge for him as far as his success on the season, but it would be huge for him as far as how this chase pans out, with many intermediate tracks on the horizon, the additional wild card at Bristol Dirt, a lot of tracks where Daniel Falkingham and Zoltan Herzeg have been strong. For Darling to excel in one of these few variables that make up this run to the championship, it would mean so much to him and his chances at wrapping up a title. And so far, he is winding the gap by about 4/10 of a second over Baker. As we drop back to a fight that's happening here towards the bottom portion of the top 10 with Sean Williams and Zach Lindgren.
Speaking of methods and methodically working way through the field, as Tommy Gossett's going to veer into the pit lane, it looks like, and he does. Sean Williams is methodically working his way through this field. Spencer Owens also going to pit. This lap 30 coming to 31 for these drivers. They are 2 drivers that did not pit at our earlier caution. As you see now, Freilich to the inside of Zach Lindgren and almost making contact with the left rear of that 85 car. You'll notice now Will Klein is pictured in 24th position, 5 laps down. We don't know the root cause, but he has disconnected or dropped out of this race, and that can only spell bad news for the driver of the 48. Patrick Colby also is 33 seconds back of the leaders. I wonder what's happened there, but he does go by those drivers in the pit lane as Lindgren loses that spot, and now Zoltan Herzeg rolls in behind the 85 car. So Zoltan had been passed by Colt Freilich and Sean Williams, as here comes Zach Lindgren.
Boy, that was a bit of a scare there for Herzeg, as boy, Lindgren had to really get on the blind loose there to hit road speed coming in there, but Herzeg had to swing way wide. That's the most yaw that I've seen out of a car without it snapping sideways was that of Herzeg off turn 4, as we will now start to see some of these cars. Spencer Ray was another one of the 5 that stayed out, so that means that Daniel Falkingham may not be too far from having to pit out of 3rd place. The points leader, who was off strategy, 5 cars, remember, stayed out. These were a couple of them, with Falkingham being the highest running of those who's yet to stop. So we can expect to perhaps see the 20 on the pit lane here shortly. And obviously, with this fuel run, aided by just 1 caution, taking us up here to about lap 31, 32 or so, Falkingham's going to stay out at least 1 more time. We can expect there will at least be 2 more stops for the bulk of the field, and 2 more for Falkingham, 1 after he has to stop in the not-too-distant future, with John Berry now pressuring him for P3.
I'm doing some math, and actually, I think you're still right. We are still going to see 2 stops for these guys, so I wonder if anybody's going to catch on to that one and pit early. They'll be good to go past halfway, the drivers who pitted on the last yellow, but it seems like the range for these drivers is only about 30 laps, and that's not going to cut it from that pit stop all the way to the end of the race, as Barry is going to look to the inside and take that 3rd spot away from Daniel Falkingham. I started to shake my head no, saying that they only had 1 stop, but no, they will definitely have to pit again at some point. Can tell you, Zach Lindgren just picked up a speeding penalty. He's going to lose a lap after taking a 55-second pit stop. That is a telltale sign of a 40-second penalty, which you get for speeding and not taking off your service. So the driver of the 85 car now back on the speedway, but way behind everybody else, and certainly has got problems.
And, you know, I said earlier that starts and restarts are going to be huge, because this is one of the few tracks that still has a quite literally straight front straightaway that is incredibly narrow. Remember, Phoenix used to be designed in that nature, however, not anymore with the location of the start-finish line there, as Brett Picari is having a go of it here with Keithley. But I think getting onto the pit lane is another huge moment for this race, especially if it happens under green. I mean, you're pretty much on the same straightaway as the start-finish line. To get that thing low down from 100 40, 50 miles an hour at the exit of turn 4 down to the pit speed limiter, or I should say the pit speed limit. It's hard to do. Daniel Falkingham is trying to do it now, a much quicker entry into the pit lane for Falkingham, but again, making sure that you have that car down to the pit speed is huge, and that could catch up and bite some of our championship contenders.
And how about this pass? Sean Williams, right up to the 5th spot, moves on by Howie Brents. You saw Daniel Falkingham come in. We'll keep an eye on his pit time. That was an awfully wild pit entry. I can only imagine that it would have been certainly close to pit speed, potentially speeding, but I think he might have made it in just barely. Cole Freilich was really loose a lap or so ago, as Lindgren now goes fastest of anybody. Purple for Lindgren, a 52.883. And you know what? I don't think that is over a second, I think, off of the track record here in race conditions set by Bobby Zielinski, and yeah, that is well off of the track record. Granted, the track record set on a different, certainly a different build. I mean, the record was set back in 2015. A lot's changed in iRacing since then, but the track record was set by Bobby Zielinski in both qualifying and race condition at a 51.380. It's lap 36 of 80, and I have to wonder, Terrell Baker is sliding way back. He's lost second place. How much further does he slide here before pit stops?
You mentioned earlier, Andrew, kind of worried about the level of aggression and tenacity that we saw at TCB early and what that could do to the tires that are underneath that car. Now, granted, the early caution that allowed him to pit, we never got to see what that car would do on a quite literal long run. We're starting to see it now. That car has really good short-run speed, especially on new rubber, but right now, as that car starts a lot more laps, as Cody Miller is going to wrap up service here. Going to be joined by Tom Curtis here, almost getting squeezed out into the pit wall as they came off the pit lane and out of their respective pit stalls. But as we start to see some of this long run materialize, you see Baker there losing a spot down in the turn number 1. And looks as though that car is starting to push up pretty wide up off the corner. He's got about 2 seconds of breathing room. That car that just got by him there are some of the cars that Spencer Ray, who was rocketing his way through. Fresh tires seem to matter tonight a lot. Hertzeg now second in points, in for a stop.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see that these drivers that did pit on that caution flag earlier, I think, are realizing they can't go quite to the end. May as well cut a little bit short here and cut the run up and save yourself some tire life. So here comes Zoltan Hertzeg, and Falkingham goes fastest, and it looks like Falkingham likely did not speed. His pit stop was rather normal as opposed to that of Lindgren. Patrick Colby is, oh my goodness, I wonder for Patrick Colby. He is getting passed up by Spencer Owens here, and that car has a lot of damage. I think something happened off of the restart for the 9 car, and he is mired way back in the field. Jared Darling still leads. Pit stops are looming for these drivers. We're going to take a quick step aside. We're going to go side by side, in fact, here on Pit Stop TV. And don't worry, that is not a pass for the lead. That is Spencer Ray, a lapped car going on by race leader Jared Darling. It's lap 38 of 80.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back to the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You may have just seen it on the back end of that quick side-by-side, but Jared Darling has just pitted from the race lead, and the number 1 car is on the pit lane, taking service, taking right side tires, in fact, right now. It looks like, although this is actually... It felt like an extended stop. Left sides go on now. This is a slightly extended stop. It's slightly slow. 14.5 there for Jared Darling. John Barry then inherits the race lead. It is lap 40 of 80. We're coming around to take halfway shortly. There was just a pass made. In fact, Cole Freilich is losing some spots here as Brett Pancari goes on by. Freilich makes the other or I guess the other's half, if you will, the match to David Schutt's damage from a while ago. In fact, we've been told on lap 1 at a turn 3, Cole Freilich punted David Schutt, and I can tell you, after talking with these drivers a little bit in the past week, Eric, there are some rough feelings between those two, mostly from Cole Freilich directed at David Schutt. I wonder if that was to send a message early. So halfway down, halfway to go. John Barry leads, pit stops on the way.
Yeah, lots still to look forward to here, and now that we've seen, a driver like that of Jared Darling stop, I mean, we've seen, I believe, Daniel Falkingham stretch his fuel number, we'll call it about 33, 34 laps, maybe by 3 or 4 laps of caution. So we know that these guys are going to have to stop. If this race, it may come down to a bit of a strategy move here. We've seen how much the difference maker tires have been, but we can start to see some guys come down with about 10, 12 laps to go or so, and maybe just go for only, maybe a short fill, maybe elect to forego tires. We may see guys take 4 tires and try to make up that gap in that late stages. Again, all this is contingent on the race staying green, which, NORC has had a bit of a reputation of doing so this season in a lot of their races, and Indy may be tough, but this may be one of those strategy events here, and what a way to kick off our championship chase, and with some new players in the mix, with some strategies to keep task on, and some great racing going on as well here as David Schutt's trying to pick up a spot in the top 10.
And how about this? Michael Keithley, granted it's in the middle of some pit stops, moving things around, but Michael Keithley taking the 9th position away from David Schutt. Schutt wants it back. Very strong run so far out of Keithley. We don't talk about this guy very much. Let's give him a quick moment here. He started in the 26th position out of 26, dead last. He's gotten up to 9th place, though, and this 53 is looking pretty clean. A little bit of right front damage, a tiny little bit there, but in the 9th spot, he's clearly got some speed if he's run up to and by David Schutt.
Talking about guys who may not be in championship contention, but they're trying to end their season on a strong note, and Keithley is one of them. He is somebody who, coming into the night, who we've seen have flashes of brilliance. I remember at one of the big Super Speedway races that we had, as he just scrubbed the wall there while trying to apex the corner to fend off Schutt. Now running way up high off of turn 2. Ooh, look out, that got close off the corner. And these two are going to play around with a little bit of the side draft on the back straightaway. Schutt having the advantage down low. This fight will continue off into turn 3. But Keithley is someone, oh my goodness, this is good stuff. Keithley is someone who is trying to turn the stack column around in his favor. He's going to lose the spot here, stay up in the top 10 for now, may try the crossover in turn 4, but to no avail. Schutt will take 9th.
And Schutt, it looks like, is going to drive off of turn number 4 and start to gap that 53 car just a little bit. I like that you were bringing up some other alternative strategies there, Eric. I really do, because he brought up some that even I hadn't thought of just yet, as far as potentially taking fuel only on a stop and moving things around in that regard. I had really only considered these guys taking 4 in fuel, but I think you might be onto something. John Barry is about to hit his limit along with everybody else who pitted on that yellow flag. They could be trying to get to where they only... Oh, man, it's going to be so close. If they have saved fuel, they are going to be right on the edge. We've got 36 to go this time by. They can go 33, and they're about to eclipse 33. Now John is going for that 33rd on to 34 lap. So if he comes in this next time by, that'll be 34. If he goes one more, he might be able to split the difference.
Yeah, definitely going to be keeping our eyes on this here, as that could, in fact, be a race-winning move. Here's Howie Brisk, one of the championship contenders, coming down for a stop. He was having a strong run up to the top 10 earlier. Looks like he's going to try to make his bed here. And another car that's going to make their way down onto the pit lane. This is one of the impressive newcomers to this series that we were talking about there, Andrew. And Jared Wishon, who has been turning some heads here in his few starts so far. 7. Looks as though he might have a little bit of damage towards the back of the right rear of that car, if I saw correctly, but he too is going to stop here, and we'll see if this car can make it to the end.
Teammate Zach Lindgren, he has really turned things up these first couple of weeks in his NORC career. Here comes John Barry to the pit lane. This is oh so close. He's going to have 35 to go in his run when he gets back out there. Along with TCB, this was the move for everybody. This is going to be right on the edge of making it. They knew their fuel number. They have hit their fuel number. And somebody who's going to go beyond it, how about Sean Williams going a little bit further? He's got insurance. I like this from Sean. He's going to be able to push just that little bit harder. He's saved just a little bit more fuel. He brings Ariati around. He brings Brett Pancari around. He brings Chad Oxendine around. These 4 drivers are the best on fuel so far. They might be the ones who can go the distance. So we're looking at a fuel strategy game. It's not going to be won without a caution, certainly, by Daniel Falkingham, who now sits in 5th and will cycle around to the race lead here momentarily. It might be won by Sean Williams. Barely gets into the chase this season, but he does make it. This could really shake things up. He comes in 11th in the chase standings, and here he comes down to the pit lane. The driver out of Wilmington, North Carolina, going to lead Ariati. Looks like Brett Pancari sliding in, and Chad Oxendine should come around.
Yeah, so these will be the last of the group that we expect to stop, that we will see try to stretch it to the rest of the way. And this may validate something that I was pondering, although I did not mutter it out loud. Ariati was one of the fastest 4 cars to start this race. He was running in the lead pack. However, after stopping under the person on the yellow, didn't see that car rocket to the front like we saw a TCB and company. And I wonder if that was a little bit of preemptive fuel planning by Ariati, who is one of the last to stop. You see Pancari there up on the jack. Now we're looking at Ariati who has stopped, and you were right, Andrew. We also saw Oxendine, one of the championship contenders, come down for what will be this final wave of cars that we will expect to try to stretch to the end. That doesn't mean this is going to be our final bit of pit stops, as Falkingham and company are going to have to come back around, but that was close to the pit exit there between Audi and Williams. With Williams getting the launch, he'll lead this group out on the pit exit.
Everybody who pitted before lap 44, 45 is going to have to pit again. I mean, there's no other way. They will have to pit and take fuel. That includes the names of Daniel Falkingham, Tommy Gossett, Jared Darling, Zoltan Herzeg, Spencer Owens now in 5th, Sheldon Locke in 6th, Tom Mercier in 7th, Cody Miller in 8th, Spencer Ray in 12th, who has also had some problems. He's been rather slow this run, it looks like. He's really dropped in the running order. And, of course, Zach Lindgren with his pit penalty from earlier on, who now rides in the 22nd position. And this might be a very early end to a potentially championship contending run for the driver originally out of New Mexico, moved over to Mooresville, North Carolina to chase some racing dreams. That's why he's got Racecom and HMS on his number 85. And this has just been a stellar season for Zach, but it's been small little mistakes like these that have taken him out of contention of much higher positions and certainly much higher honors.
With this caliber of field, we're not destined or guaranteed to always get the amount of cautions required to maybe work your way around, get back on the lead lap, get a free pass or so, or alternate the pit strategy a little bit more. So for Lindgren, this is going to be having to climb out of a pretty deep hole here for the duration of this race, and he may not get the opportunity that he necessarily needs to. So that is unfortunate for him, as we start to see a couple of cars who, again, blended and mixed strategy. Here's Tommy Gossett, as we mentioned, in the newly numbered number 10. John Berry just got around Sheldon Locke for a position. That's for 6th spot. But again, the pit strategy is kind of jumbled throughout the bulk of this field. We know that Falkingham will have to stop again. Jared Darling, it's going to be probably a little bit too tight for him, but we certainly have seen a lot of names cycle in and out of this top 10 running order. Locke and Mercier are part of that club as well. They run 7th and 8th respectively right now.
Would you like to know who the first driver that's good on fuel is, Eric? Would you like to know?
I would, please.
It's going to be Terrell Baker. I think potentially he's faster. Actually, I will stand corrected. I got a little ahead of myself. It's Terrell Baker and John Berry on almost even footing. They're a couple of seconds apart, but it is these two. So even if it's not a win, TCB Nation, TCB is one of the first 2 cars that is good on fuel to the end. He's right behind this. My goodness, out of turn 1, right behind the 68 car Mercier. Move Tom out of the way, and Terrell Baker moves up to the 6th position. Now, no, 7th, not quite. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't know where I got 6th from. Moves up to 7th, but you can see the gap is only a couple of seconds for TCB. He's been faster all day than John Barry. He may as well be the first car that's good on fuel. He is quick.
That was quick. It was aggressive, but it wasn't too aggressive because a little bit too much of a nudge there to the back bumper of Mercier's car would have grenaded the strategy that he's on, hoping that he could cycle his way up towards the top of the running order here once the rest of the field has to stop. So for TCB, though, he's showing that short run speed yet again. Here comes one of the championship front runners, Zoltan Hertzeg, our most recent winner on the NORC campaign, having to stop for the final time tonight. Sheldon Lockheed is going to join him on the pit lane as well. Perhaps this will open the floodgates for some of these drivers. We expect to have him stop one more time to start to hit the pit lane here and have a good long distance stretch to the finish and maybe reap some of the rewards of this fresh rubber early in this stint.
And Eric, I love that we've been conditioned this season to expect green flag running, because if you ask anybody in the NORC iRacing series of seasons past, they would laugh at you about that. There have been plenty of races where we've had a lot of yellows, but if you go seasons and seasons back, you can find a lot of past races where there was a lot of green flag racing. In fact, if we go back here at Indianapolis to 2015 and 2016, Season 2 and Season 4 when we ran here, it was 50 laps in Season 2, 80 laps in Season 4, only one caution in each of those races, and plenty of lead changes between them. It's been in more recent years that we've seen the cautions go up, the lead changes have gone up with them, but this is a return of the racing of old, I think. We're seeing a lot of great drivers of a lot of different backgrounds meshing in this one league, and it's, I think, one of the best crop of drivers we've had since we've had, honestly, NORC legends, if you will, of Marcus Richardson and Bobby Zelensky and Femi Olot going after each other every week.
Ever since I joined the team here at Pit Stop TV, we've covered a lot of stock car racing series before, and not to throw any shade at any other series that we have on the platform as well, but when NORC was added to our arsenal of lineup of events to cover, I was hooked. And it started at the season opener as well. The first race that we covered at Daytona. From there on out, some very tough racetracks, some venues that often will catch the most experienced and bursting racer off guard. And each and every NORC tends to find a way to deliver. I remember back at Homestead, we thought it was calamity. I was over. We thought it was going to be absolutely calamity for the 7th race of the season. It turned out we only had a couple of cautions. Everybody was pleasantly surprised. The racing product, and it was just insane how well the these drivers can be on some of the most toughest venues. You watch other series compete on the open here in England, you'll see 9, 10, 11, 12 cautions in an 80-lap race, no problem. These guys so far, only one yellow. It brings the strategy into the mix. It forces these drivers to have to think about some scenarios that they may not have practiced throughout the week, and this is certainly going to be one of them. And it's allowing the level of competition to be as strong as it is. And for us, watching, commentating, for those of you who are viewing along with us, it's what makes this series so much fun. And we are still in for what should be a very exciting 35-plus run to the finish, as we are starting to see TCB make some more noise as he gets a great run off the corner to get by Owens for 5th.
So Spencer Owens loses that 6th position. TCB goes on by, and the gap is narrowing. It's going to show Owens for a moment, but that is the live gap up to John Barry. It's just under a second, and it's closing. TCB is on the way for that 4th spot, and along with it would be cycling around to eventually the race lead. However, the harder TCB pushes, the less fuel he's got, and these guys are on the edge. Daniel Falkingham does lead. It's lap 55 now of 80 as these drivers come around and complete lap 54 for themselves. And Daniel Falkingham, while these guys are across the line, Daniel Falkingham is exiting turn number 2. He he certainly cannot lean back and save enough fuel, but he can try and just run, going to say it, balls to the wall, and just go as fast as he can and try and make up as many positions as he possibly can. He's got 11 points, though. Keep in mind, he's got at least 1 or 2 mulligans here of points back to everybody else, and that 11-point gap is only back to Zoltan Hertzeg, and he's not even in the top 10. Zoltan is back in 19th, the last car on the lead of the lap. So if ever there is a race for Falkingham to have to kind of backpedal, this is the one that it might be okay.
Hertzeg just has not been able to nail down the setup and the route to get around this racetrack here tonight with this style Xfinity car. he started back here. He started back in 19. We saw him on the racetrack. Just not sure why he never got a lap in, per se, in qualifying. And under green, he worked his way up to 16th by virtue of some pit cycling. He was up in the top 10, albeit momentarily. However, I do believe that he did stop for what should be his final time relatively early compared to some of the names at the top of the pylon. So we could expect to see him cycle through a number of cars before the finish, but let's remember, guys like Baker and Ariati and company, they stopped already for their last time. So barring something spectacular or them not making it to the end on fuel, Herzeg may have to try to salvage his finish here tonight and hope that Falkingham has a little bit of a falter here on what may be his last stop. But we still got some great racing going on with Howie Briss and Cody Miller going at it here in turn 3 for a spot up in the top 10. Ariati watching it all unfold.
And a lot of tire mismatches here as Adi drives around Cody Miller, Daytona race winner. Pancari going to come along with. For context here, Howie Briss pitted 11, now 12 laps ago, this time by the stripe, but I think that is 1 lap too soon. It's right there with Keithley, and I think they might be 1 lap further short than everybody else. Sean Williams pitted the lap after, and I think he is good to go, along with Ariati. Remember, those two battled out of the pit lane, and Cody Miller certainly is nowhere near good on fuel. So I would imagine that if we're watching this battle, the battle that will be preserved here is Ariati and Sean Williams. If Brett Pancari stays in this little battle, he might be running out of fuel right there at the end. Pancari just, I don't know, my bad. I'm talking about Briss, might be a little bit short. Pancari might be a little bit short as well. Pancari did come in 1 lap earlier than Williams and Audi. So this is a big mismatch. This is how confusing it is to try and take in. Everybody, it seems like, is coming in on different laps, and there's a lot of different ranges for these drivers.
Now, that's certainly something we're going to have to keep tabs on here as we see Tom Mercier just in front of this pack has just pulled off. He's going to come down for what should be his final stop of the night. And I will tell you, though, remember we were watching that race off the pit lane between Sean Williams and Ariati. Adi was able to get up and around Williams. I mean, it's almost like you're running a sports car race here. Granted, everybody's on the same, even keel as far as the equipment that they're in, but you almost have to be aware of who's on the same strategy as you and, maybe not push too hard. I know that we're pretty confident that Williams and Audi and company can make it to the end. They got that insurance lap in that you were referencing there, Andrew, but you also want to make sure that you're up to and past the group that you're definitely going to be in the mix with should things stay green to the finish, but you don't want to push too hard like we saw TCB perhaps doing early on and maybe run yourself dry at the end. So a lot to keep tabs on, not only for us as the people who are fortunate enough to bring this event to the masses, but for these drivers and competitors. They got to stay abreast as to who's doing what as well. I know that they want to focus on their own doing as Cody Miller comes down, but you also got to be aware what the competition's doing.
And again, Cody Miller coming down. He is quite a ways short on fuel, so he's got to come in here with 20 or so laps to go and take a fuel stop as well as tires. That brings Spencer right on the pit lane along with. I think we may see Zach Lindgren try and stretch this as long as he potentially can. He sits in 21st, 1 lap down, but it would be in his best interest to go a little bit long, I think. No, actually, he has just pitted recently, so I'll take that back. But some of these drivers further back that maybe don't have a chance of racing up their way through the running order, they could stay out here in case we get a yellow. And if they can save fuel and go a couple laps extra, it could really work out for them to get back on the lead lap. And, of course, cautions breed cautions. We've seen it here at Indy in so many races for the NASCAR National Series, be it the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, or not the Camping World Truck Series, I suppose, but we've seen it in so many races here at Indianapolis where cautions breed cautions. As soon as you get these drivers back around one another at a place like this with 20 or so laps to go or 10 laps to go, the intensity ramps up and they make some interesting moves. Speaking of some interesting moves and drivers working around each other, TCB working on John Berry. It's inside half a second.
And TCB is someone who has been on the charge. He is trying to get up there and get to this lead by virtue of, regardless of what type of strategy the cars up in front of him are on, and he is starting to motor his way up towards the head of the pack here as we will hit 20 laps to go this time. Now, it appears as though that Daniel Falkingham, judging by the timing and scoring ticker, has come down the pit lane this time. So our championship point leader, yes, he is on the pit lane. He stretched it out just about as far as he possibly could, or maybe even trying to split this stint here in about half. That way he could, in fact, have some of the freshest rubber throughout the front runners. But He is down here for service. You saw the right side going up, so definitely taking tires. That's going to give Jared Darling the lead. But we're going to go back up here and watch John Berry, and as well as TCB and Hayes Booth, another name that you mentioned in the intro here, Andrew, that has been turning a bit of a corner here lately as far as results. Been very fast as of late. Not one of the championship contenders, but certainly a race-winning contender here tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting in his rookie season as well, that we're, especially after his struggles, we're talking about Hayes Booth in the conversation to win a race. Here he goes. He might have the run on TCB. He does. Down to the inside of the 25 car, down the front stretch, and Hayes Booth is going to take that spot away, and he is sat back. Hayes has been very consistent over the course of this run and has saved his stuff. Hayes Booth might suddenly be the favorite to win this race. These three drivers are your top three in terms of fuel to the end, and my goodness, this 2 car is moving.
Maybe that number change is exactly what Hayes needed in order to finally put all the pieces together here. That Ford is strong tonight, and he has cemented a move around TCB, who led a number of laps to kick off this race. And it appears as though that just, you know, once they get some laps on the tires, TCB just does not have a middle to long run car under his belt tonight. On the short run, that thing is a rocket ship. He is one of the few who may be hoping for a late race yellow here at a time that may suit his needs.
This group might do it.
Back, this 4 or 5 car fight here, this may be what could be a cause of our next yellow, because Spencer Ray is hanging it out here up top. He, I believe, is not involved in this mix in that 6 car. Brett Macari is trying to get through here as well. And that's Ariati, who is kind of got the left car Ray sandwiched between he and Macari right now. That's 8th and 9th. With up ahead, Howie Brisk. Ray must be on some fresh tires here. He must have just stopped. Remember, he was off kilt on the same strategy as Falkingham under the first caution. So, yes, Ray is starting to cut through this field, disrupt the energy of this top 10 battle a bit, and this fight will continue on the back straightaway.
And the eventual battle for the race lead just got a bit interesting. Hayes Booth up to 3rd. Jared Darling and Tommy Gossett have to pit. We believe Hayes might be the first driver that is good at the end. Although, running like this and catching these guys, maybe he's not. He's going to have to really be on top of saving fuel the back end of this race, as Tommy Gossett is in the pit lane. So promote Hayes Booth now up to 2nd place.
So we await now for Jared Darling down in stock, what we expect to be the final time, with Spencer Owens also coming down here. This race was only seen 1 yellow flag. Kind of split some strategy amongst a number of competitors. We saw some drivers go into fuel conservation mode, but there you see it, just 1 caution for a couple laps. But how about this? 8 lead changes on a track that many dub not competitive in terms of oval competition. Well, no surprise that the NORC drivers are switching that up around here tonight, and we're not done yet, because we know that Jared Darling will have to stop that 11-second lead that he is going to try to hold on to. Up until that point will be all for naught, and Darling will have to see where he comes out in the running order and how the rest of this race may materialize.
No!
And a problem for Hayes Booth, perhaps. Oh, look at this. He's not going to be able to make it to the end. He's coming down for service.
I don't think Hayes got the memo. With as quickly as he was driving up to TCB and John Berry, I don't think Hayes knew quite the strategy. I think they were laying back. They're saving fuel. Hayes Booth, not so much. He comes in, and that might be out of a little bit of frustration for the driver out of the Mid-South, I believe out of Mississippi. And, oh, this just keeps getting worse. This is painful to keep watching, but it's like a train wreck. Does he finally go up on the jacks? There he goes. The right rear hanging out of the pit box, but that'll work.
Yeah, that, of course, is legal, like it is in the real-life setting. Also, you can see he's not alone. Howie Briggs, nice. 12 of the 12 chase contenders coming down for service. Looks as though his right side tire is splashed. He's out of the way. We're going to flash back up now to this fight that we're seeing, and we're also starting to see some more cars come down for their stop. I love the fact, Andrew, that the strategy is all over the place. It is a little bit of work for us to try to keep tabs on it all.
A lot of work.
It is. I see you crunch the numbers there on your end. It's certainly an engaging and entertaining element of the complexion of this race. And look at the bottom portion of the top 10 in our running order. How about that? As far as 3 drivers who were top 4 in the standings, some of which we didn't see up towards the top 10 all night long, like that of Zolta and Herczeg. Currently rounding out that top 10, Oxendine's up there. Falkingham, 8th after being one of the more recent drivers to stop. We're not done shuffling the deck just yet here, And some of these drivers who we thought could be in trouble by virtue of their strategy still cycling their way back up towards the front here.
And what's amazing to me is Daniel Falkingham, of course, he did not pit under our one lone caution of the race, and he had to short stop for fuel here in this little run. He is only 2.9 or so seconds currently back of David Shutt, and then that's another second and a half of Sean Williams. With these brand new tires, he might be able to get there. I mean, the window is, I guess the gap is closing for Daniel Falkingham up to David Shutt. You can see, I mean, he is moving right now, and he will be to the 5 car before you know it. Daniel Falkingham is still going to tear through this field in an amazing way. I don't know if it will or won't be for the race win, but it's going to be a darn good run no matter what, just by sheer pace, regardless of strategy, while these guys continue to have to watch their fuel number, John Barry, essentially leading the way because Jared Darling still has to pit.
John Berry, who is another driver who came into the night with a goose egg in the win column despite being third in the standings. 6 top 5s, 12 top 10s, 14 bonus points by virtue of his incredible and consistent regular season. But he desperately wants to find victory lane. There would be no better place to do that than here at Indy, while some of his other championship competition, like that of the 5 of David Shutt, has to stop one more time to make it to the end. We flash forward now to Jared Darling, who is continuing to nurse that lead. We too expect to see Darling on the pit lane, and there's a good visual as to how much of a lead that Darling has. Obviously, that's not going to cover the pit delta time once Darling elects to pull the trigger and come down, but this will and should in fact be the battle for the lead, with Arriati riding in 4th for the time being. We believe he could certainly make it to the end. He stopped a lap later than these drivers, according to my numbers. Sean Williams also in that category as well.
I hate to spoil this amazing party, but Daniel Falkingham might still win this race. I'm staggered by the run that Daniel's putting together. He is only just behind Sean Williams. I mean, the run this guy is on this season and this evening as well. I don't have any more room in the standings graphics to put asterisks for wins. I don't have any more room for this guy to keep winning. But I think he might do it. He's going to make quick work of Sean right down to the inside. There he goes. Falkingham taking that spot away. That's going to become 5th place here in just a little bit. It's only a handful of seconds on up to John Barry. It's going to be about 7 or so with 10 laps to go. He's turning laps at least about a second faster, half second faster than these guys, and sometimes a second faster. He is on the way. There he goes, on by Brett Pancari. If he wins, I'm not so sure. I don't know if he's going to win just yet, but I mean, he is on the way. He is closing quick. It's incredible.
We talked about it right off the jump with the first caution and pit stop cycle that we had, that tires were going to matter. Falkingham is proving that here at the time in which it matters most. It'll be 10 laps to go next time we come around. And I think the one thing that we have to keep in mind here is the fact that if Darling does in fact pit, that means there's only an 8-second gap that Falkingham has to make up to John Berry, and that's contingent on if they can make it to the end. He's already gotten by most of those cars who stayed out that additional insurance lap. The next one is at Arriati, who's just up the road here as they enter turn number 3. So you talk about cutting the trail to the front. I mean, Falkingham is blitzing the field right now. And I think that if you do stop at this point, you've got to go for tires because they matter so much here. Falkingham's proving it.
Yeah, I mean, he's proving how much tires matter. And here comes Jared Darling, finally on the pit lane, is the driver of the 1 car. There you see him out of Illinois, comes in for service. That's got to feel pretty painful with 10 laps to go, but you got to do what you got to do, and unfortunately the strategy just not working out for him. This is the battle for the race lead and possibly the race win. Falkingham is only 5.2 seconds back. With less than 10 laps to go, I think it's going to work out to at least battle with these guys as they're on fumes here at the end. Falkingham is already passing Arriati down to turn number 3. He's only got 5 seconds to go to TCB.
Where that tire advantage starts to equalize amongst the two that are still in front of them, and do they have enough fuel to make it to the finish? I think TCB is going to have to start racing pretty hard here on Berry, and if he's guys are conserving. They've got something left in the tank, pun intended, to try to pull away from Falkingham. They're out of time to try to hold back. Falkingham continues to carve up into that lead. Look at it shrink a half second down into turn number 1 for these leaders. Falkingham down to 4 seconds behind these two, and they're kind of trapped here in a little bit of dirty air with some lap traffic, and Baker has not been able to close up here more than a car length and a half on Berry, who retains the lead.
This is just absurd what Daniel Falkingham is able to do this season. I really, oh, and here we go. TCB moving for the race lead. He wants it from John Berry. That's going to slow both of these drivers up in turn 3. It is only going to allow Daniel to catch them a little bit faster. Terrell realizes that, jumps right back behind John, and will draft back down the front stretch this time. This is insane what Daniel Falkingham has been able to do. Here we go. TCB is going to pull out, and it looks like Jared Washon is going to give him a little bit of help. Jared Washon helping the 25 car down to turn number 1. Now Jared may be backing out, but he actually traps John Berry on the top side. Traps John Berry up there, and is only going to further help TCB take the race lead with an even larger cushion. That really backs Revin up.
Right now, here comes Wishon down to the inside again. This is not for position. Wishon is, in fact, a lap off the pace by virtue of the pit stop. He's going to try to become the first car at the tail end of the lead lap as Falkingham is in the slipstream of John Berry for what's going to be a battle for second if he can get there. He closes up. As a matter of fact, that's a lap car. Zach Lickred just in front of him. So he still has to navigate a little bit of traffic here before he gets up to Berry and company. But my goodness, is this going to be a thriller as that margin continues to close as they're back up on the main straightaway.
Spencer Ray in front of these guys as well. I think he should hopefully drive away from these two battling for the race lead. TCB does hold the lead for now. This has been the best race that Terrell has run all season long, with the exception of maybe last week at Legacy Daytona before things went awry. This has been fantastic stuff from Terrell, and I still don't think it's going to be enough. Daniel Falkingham is there, for all intents and purposes, with much better tires to the tune of 15 laps. Man, John Berry might be able to hold Daniel back long enough for Terrell, but I just don't know at this point. I mean, he's within a second. He's closing even more. Just continues to walk on up to these guys, just reeling them in. That first straight bait is paying off right now, boys. Just reeling them in turn 4. I mean, it's insane. I can't believe it.
The line here with about 6 laps to go. Falkingham with a big run on the main straightaway. How fast can he shake free of John Berry for the Whoa, I didn't know if he was running out of gas or if he was giving up the spot. That was a huge lift for John Berry down the main straightaway. And Falkingham blows by. Berry continues on. He'll hold on to that third spot for now, but Falkingham may have a clear path to victory as he's got to run on Baker.
This is absurd. I mean, Daniel Falkingham took an extra stop on this run than these two, and he's still just going to go right on by. Not quite into turn 3. I mean, he can just play with his food now. He can sit there and toy with TCB and choose when he wants to pass it. It's going to be this time in turn number 4. The blue number 20 down to the inside of the blue 25. And Daniel Falkingham is in the lead and just 5 laps away from a 7th race win. Hey, TCB isn't quite done. He wants to fight back. He wants to go down with some dignity.
TCB's not going to give up yet, but down to turn number 1, this is going to be a tough road to hoe to try to get on the inside. He's going to give up the top spot. Daniel Falkingham looking for his 7th win on the season, looking to start off the championship chase with a win at one of the most difficult tracks on the 7-race slate. He pulls away from TCB off of turn 2, down the back straightaway, and even if a caution was to fly now, I still think Falkingham has the edge over the field as he is trying to get that car to the line late enough to cement a victory here at the Brickyard. Baker falling back in 2nd, Berry running in 3rd. We still have to question if these drivers will have enough fuel to get to the finish, but not for Falkingham. He should be good to go.
The driver that we think should be best off, or at least one of the two drivers, is Sean Williams, in behind Brett Pancari, who pitted 1 lap earlier than Sean, and Ariotti is a little ways up the road as well. These two drivers, along with Chad Oxendine, should be the best of any of the guys going on the one-stop strategy from that caution way back when at about, what was it, lap 8, lap 9, somewhere around there. It was so early in this race, that yellow involving Matt Hummel and Bobby Chaney. We've been green since then. So in case you're just joining us for the tail end of this one, this is round number 20 of NORC Season 13. It's the first race of the chase, and Daniel Falkingham is about to walk away with it. It's been a fuel strategy run since our first yellow, way back when. It seems like it was almost morning time when it happened, and Daniel Falkingham did not pit under that caution. For any of you, again, just joining us for a little bit of context here, Daniel did not pit. He has since, on old tires, driven away from the field and everybody who had pitted, and taken an extra stop compared to guys like Terrell Baker, John Barry, Ariati, Brett Pancari, Sean Williams, and has driven to them and away from them as Spencer Ray gets the wall that time out of turn 1. The stuff that Daniel Falkingham is doing is equal to none. It's incredible, and there's only 2.5 laps to go before he gets his 7th win on the season.
Yeah, this is unbelievable, and I got to admit, as we watch him now try to navigate his way around the lap car, Spencer Ray, when you see someone have that strong of a regular season, the question as to whether or not they peaked too early comes to mind. As we mentioned prior, a couple of his wins came very early in the season. As a matter of fact, 2 of the first 3. The only one he wasn't able to get under his belt in the first 3 was that of Daytona. Well, this battle for second is not over. John Barry has gotten around TCB, and he is not relinquishing the opportunity to lay claim to that runner-up spot. Is Baker right on the backside of Barry as they go into turn number 1, but with only a couple laps to go, Falkingham is trying to kick off this potential championship run with a statement that he has not peaked early. He still has some great races under his belt, and he is trying to do so here at one of the toughest tracks of them all at Indy.
It's not quite over just yet. Daniel Falkingham has not taken the white flag, and several drivers are around one another. However, here comes Daniel Falkingham. Like you said, I mean, it has just been an incredible season. This will be off of turn number 4 this time, and it will be the white flag in the air for the driver of the 20. Again, out of Jonesport, Maine, it's incredible what he's been able to do. This guy has got a bright future on iRacing. It's the white flag presented by Tucson Sound Art at Indianapolis for Daniel Falkingham.
You look at some of the tracks and disciplines that Falkingham has had success on so far this season. Kansas, Michigan, to name a few. The road courses, which he dominated, literally dominated at Road Atlanta and more. Short tracks have been a strong suit of him, but a win at the Nashville Fairgrounds as well. And he is looking to win on a track that is unique in its own right here at Indianapolis to kick off what could be a championship pursuit after being off strategy, driving up through the field. And he is a couple corners away from his 7th win of the year.
The final couple of corners for Daniel Falkingham, it is going to be win lucky number 7. The driver out of Maine, sporting Raging Cajun graphics, sporting Lobster 207, and first-rate bait, has certainly done it again. Win 7 for Daniel Falkingham in the fuel mileage race where he didn't care about it. He drove 2 and passed everybody. My goodness, what a run.
Falkingham saying that he is in fact here to stay atop the championship standings. His closest pursuer, Zoltan Herczeg, currently 8th in the running order as we await for the rest of the cars to trickle across the finish line. But this night is about our buddy Daniel Falkingham on the cool-down lap. I wonder, Andrew, if there was ever any doubt as to whether or not he was going to have enough time, or if he knew all along that this was what he had to do. And the other answer to our question was yes, John Barry and TCB did make it to the checkered flag on fuel, so that would have in fact have been the race for the win. A couple of cars running dry after the checkered flag, it appears, so that was tight for many, but not for Daniel Falkingham, our winner.
We've got bigger problems than running dry for some of these guys back here. Look at this for the driver of the 10, Tommy Gossett, somehow is going to squeak out a top 10. Look at his car. I'm not sure what's happened here, but I mean, he stacks up Patrick Colby and Spencer Owens. A lot has gone on here at the end, and I did see that Chad Oxendine dropped through the order. What do you say we do some investigative work and check into that as well?
I mean, Chad Oxendine was somebody who we knew would also be pretty strong here tonight. I mentioned earlier, misspoke earlier about Homestead being a great race. Well, there was reason for it. He's here, though, with that 10 car, and Oxendine was somebody who came into the night fourth in points, 3 wide off the corner with Keithley up towards the wall. Oh,
and no yellow for this. Wow. There was no yellow for that hit. That crash.
Very, very surprised at the fact that that did not create a caution flag, especially with Keithley in the vicinity of those cars. I know that there was a ways to go before that next pair of Patrick Colby and Spencer Owens got there, but wow, that could have changed everything. Certainly turned things on its head for Chad Oxendine.
I'll tell you why there was no yellow. I believe the white flag had just come out when this happened. We'll watch trackside with this, and what this means that we'll see here when they come back around to the start-finish line is we'll be able to see the white flag if it's already waving when this happens at a turn 4. So this is turn 3, and the way these cameras are set up, we should see the white flag waving when they come out of this final corner right here, and that's where they have the contact. Yes, white flag is already in the air. I mean, look at the massive hit. So that explains the lack of a caution for that. This was after the white flag had been displayed, and that was the dropping of the order that I had seen for Chad Oxendine. Somehow Tommy Gossett and Chad get back around to complete the lap, but then there was more activity after the checkers, and we'll check in on that here where Hayes Booth was involved. So this is still Tommy Gossett. This is in turns 3 and 4. And Hayes Booth is rocketing up towards him. Here's onboard with Hayes, who had dropped through the running order because of the pit stop. And the driver of the 2 or 11 or whatever it may be to you this evening, I mean, he's closing on Tommy Gossett. What happens here? The motor loses itself right there from Tommy. And I think Hayes just throws it into the wall afterwards out of a little bit of frustration. And that is exactly what happened there. I saw that smoke after the checkers, and I was wondering if it was connected. It seems like it might not have been.
That was one of the things that I want to give, Hayes Booth a little bit of credit here. After all the struggles to get into the pit box, he still stayed with it to the very end, so that frustration is certainly warranted. But, wow, a lot to cover there. Great job on the production standpoint for being able to capture all of that. But while we saw some smoke and carnage on that final lap, we did not see any of the sorts for this driver, and Daniel Falkingham, who, again, we're probably going to say it a little bit too much here in the closeout of our broadcast because of how impressive the number is. His 7th victory of the season on a night where we were praising so many others for being in the mix. Second verse is same as the first. Falkingham kicks off his chase in victory lane.
It's incredible. Incredible what Daniel Falkingham has been able to do. We're going to keep saying it over and over and over. This is the year of the number 20 in the NORC iRacing Series. In fact, it's kind of interesting. Random little tidbit. It's the first time in quite a while that the NORC iRacing Series hasn't gone for 20 or so races. In fact, going for 25 this season. Maybe that has something to do with it. The 20 is just incredible. Again, what Daniel has been able to do. Burns it down in Indianapolis. I have no other words other than incredible. I'm going to keep saying incredible. It's been insane. Can we maybe then call him Mr. Incredible? Does that fit?
I think that's a nickname that he would wear proudly, and I think the results are there to prove it. I mentioned in the lead-in to that final lap, his wins, all 7 of them coming on varying different tracks. Kansas, Michigan were the first 2. Then you got to go down to Road Atlanta, where he absolutely dominated on the road course. Not just there, but he got another one later on in the season as well. Nashville Fairgrounds, a short track. We flip on over to the next page of results. Road America, again, road course, killed him there. The Atlanta Motor Speedway Oval. And now here in Indianapolis, I mean, aside from missing a super speedway, he's won on just about every discipline allowed. I'll go ahead and set the odds for our race 2 rounds from now at Bristol Dirt and say he'll probably go out there and dominate that thing too, the way he's been running this season. I mean, it's an incredible stretch and run that he's been on, and I don't know what the field has to do to stop it.
There's that word again, incredible. I think Mr. Incredible is the ticket here for Daniel Falkingham. We're going to keep calling him incredible, it seems like. Getting it done here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll take a step aside. We'll be right back to you here shortly with more coverage, post-race coverage from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and round number 20. There we go, another number 20 coincidence, round number 20, where Daniel Falkingham is the victor.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2.5 miles of pavement. And boy, 80 laps of a lot of fun this evening at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What a race it was, setting up the first round and completing the first round of the NORC Season 13 chase. Looking from beyond some of the golf course there on the backstretch, what a race this was. I mean, this will go down as one of the better races, I think, of the season. Certainly only one caution on the night for a couple of laps, and it's this guy leading them all to the checkers. Daniel Falkingham, this is the 7th time this season that we've brought you in as a race winner. So many different racetracks, so many different scenarios, and this time you do it in a fuel mileage race while not caring about fuel mileage.
Yeah, I feel like I should be singing Back Home Again in Indiana right now, but,
well, hey, we're not going to stop you. By all means, go ahead, sing.
Back home again. All right, no, seriously. I got it. You guys got to get through this, so I'll let you guys go. But anyway, as I was saying, but yeah, that race was crazy. I really thought, I mean, the reason I stayed out, first of all, was because I didn't think these guys could one stop, and plus we had so few tires sets, I didn't want to waste a set of tires 10 laps into the race. But thankfully, I guess that was a winning call, because I knew I had to two stops, so I could push as hard as I can, and I didn't need to save fuel. So while Revin and TCB had to, I didn't need to, and that's ultimately wasn't a race for us. And I mean, I could have actually gone further on my last pit stop, but I pitted so early so I could try to make up the deficit on tires, because if I would just ran my fuel out, I wouldn't have caught him. So so I needed to pit early in order for me to be able to run down TCB and Revin, which is what we did. So But yeah, I mean, that was a weird race. I did not anticipate it to have so much strategy like that. But man, still somehow, some way, we came out on top again.
It seems like it's just so consistent for you. And I think balancing the tires and everything worked out so well for you because you were just so much better. What is the ticket for Daniel Falkingham this season? Why is this the year of Falkingham in the NORC iRacing series? What's changed in the iRacing builds, or just what is making you click so well with these Xfinity cars? I mean, you've got the field covered so well that while they're doing some light saving to get a lap or two, you're running past them on an extra pit stop.
Yeah, I have no idea like what's clicking so well this year. I mean, I do love driving the Xfinity car because it's a car we actually have to drive. It's not like what the current Cup car is right now and whatnot. But I definitely feel like with how the car drives and stuff, there's a lot of off-throttle time and whatnot, and just a lot of these racetracks I just love, and how the schedule is based off this year. But plus, we don't have like guys like Femi, Marcus, Bobby Zelensky. Like, they're not running. They haven't been running a lot lately because of other priorities and stuff. But I feel like I've been able to really come out and show what I really can do when those guys are off to the side, and I can really show what I can do against these guys. And I've always felt like I could win a lot of races, but it's just never clicked, and it's just never really gone my way. But for a lot of races this season have been able to play right in my favor. I mean, yes, I've won a race here off and on the last few seasons and stuff. I mean, last season, especially coming off our last season where we didn't even win at all. And now 7 wins, and we're not even near the end of the season yet. But it's just so crazy to think about, and I'm just really glad I can show what I can do in this league, and hopefully maybe we'll be hoisting a trophy in a few more weeks.
Well, it's certainly looking a whole lot more likely after this evening. It was already looking pretty good for you. Now it's a 27-point lead. So add 16 to the lead you had. That's what you get this evening. It's a great job. Well done. 33 laps led. I mean, there's only so many more ways we can wrap up these kinds of runs for you. In fact, we were starting to call you Mr. Incredible there after the checkers, and I think that's a name you might have to roll with, buddy. Mr. Incredible. It was a good one. It was another great win. Who do you have to thank for it? Who do you want to shout out, buddy?
Yes, I just got to thank first for Baylock Tucson, my personal sponsors. I got to thank John Barry for running the league, for all he does. He puts a lot of work in this league, especially the last few weeks. It's been crazy for him being married and stuff, so special shout out to him. So good job to him finishing second. Shout out to TCB as well for finishing third. Congrats to all those guys. Got to thank you guys for running on the broadcast. You guys kill it every single week with the broadcast. I don't say it enough, or I feel like I say it way too much, but you guys are just on it every single week. I love going back and watching these broadcasts, so thanks for all you do. I got to thank everyone who comes out races each and every week to make these races a blast. Especially with the great green flag run tonight. I'm surprised we only had one yellow. I thought there was going to be a lot more yellows after that first caution. So shout out to everyone who races each and every week. And yeah, just got to thank all the fans who watch us each and every week. And thanks to all my friends and family who are watching as well. And yeah, that's it.
Well, there you have it. That's a round of thanks from Daniel Falkingham. Buddy, again, congratulations. It's another job well done. Another race in the bag. That's 7, and I got to figure out where to put the stars on next week's graphic for Texas. I don't know where I'm going to put these stars. You keep accumulating. You better not get too many more. I don't know where I'm going to put them, but congratulations to you one more time, buddy. We'll see you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks.
Daniel Falkingham getting it done. Now, I was up in his neck of the woods even just yesterday, Eric, up in the state of Maine. I'd like to think I was his good luck charm, being up there around him. Maybe it rubbed off, a little bit in the Maine air and got on over to him. But, I mean, it's just been incredible what he's been able to do. And especially over these two guys that came in second and third this evening on such a great strategy of their own.
That strategy was the buzzword of the night, and it was able to benefit this driver to yet another top 5 finish. But John Barry, I know that that's not what you're gunning for here as we kick off the chase. We want to get rid of that 0 in the win column. You were 1 spot shy of doing it. Did you think that you had the race-winning strategy under your belt, or were you kind of a little bit perturbed by how fast that 20 was closing late in the going?
I thought I had a pretty good strategy. It was going to go green the whole way. I was actually, at first, I was more concerned about Sean and a couple of those other guys because they pit a lap better than us, and they wouldn't have to save as much to get in. Like that whole last run, me and Terrell were lifting like super early to make it. And I saw Buckingham pit, and I went to look at the relative, and I saw like a couple laps after he pit, he was like 11 seconds back. I'm like, oh, that ain't good. He's gonna catch us, and sure enough, he caught us. So, these races, it seems like these strategies, like it kind of goes back and forth. It seems like the whole running it all the way to the end of fuel never works because you make the time up on tires way too easy. But the second place with the strategy, I'm pretty happy with that. But damn, I wish Daniel would go away and stop winning these races all the damn time. So.
That leads me to my next question. We just kicked off this 7-race stretch to decide who the Season 13 champion's going to be, and you had a great start to the night. I mean, we saw guys like Herczeg not really up towards the front all night long. You were, but the one car that I'm sure you wanted to have to finish in the rear view ended up one spot obviously ahead of you for his 7th win of the season. I mean, how do you measure the success of the night? It's a podium, it's a runner-up, it's a great night from the chase perspective, but do you really have to focus forward on beating that 20 car alone, or do you think that runs like tonight is what it may take for you to grab another NORC title?
Really, the only thing I can really do is just go out there and just do the best I can every night and try not to screw up or get wrecked. And as long as I do that, I'll be pleased. But Daniel is going to be insanely hard to beat. I mean, he's got like some wins already, and it's just he's got a pretty big point lead. So beating him on speed, like even if I feel like if I win every single race, which is not going to happen, but if I did, he'll just finish second right behind me. So I'm going to need luck to beat him. But I'm happy with the finish because it's been a long time since I finished this close to the front. But yeah, Daniel, he's off on a different plane of dimension right now. He's just kicking our butts.
I want to ask you to take the driver's helmet off for just a moment here. But the 7 times we had a chance to talk to Daniel Falkingham in Victory Lane, he always makes it a point to thank you for all that you do for this series. Andrew and I were talking throughout the night. The fact that we only had 1 caution in a race in Indianapolis, I think back to Dover where we only had a couple of yellows there. You have an incredible cast of talent in this NORC field this season, as you do every year. From a league operator perspective, how do you think this season is faring so far? I want to ask you this question here so that way maybe for the rest of the season we can focus on your results as a driver alone. But you've got to be thrilled with the product that we've been privy to. We're fortunate to be a part of it. How does it look from your perspective?
I mean, it's great for us. So, like, as long as we're not at a short track, our races have been like 1, 2 cautions, like 3 maximum. The racing's been really clean, and it's like, okay, it kind of gets rid of the whole lottery aspect away of it, and like people can actually like run strategies like we had tonight, and you know the people who are fast will end up front, or people who can strategize will end up front, and like the races actually naturally play out, which is a lot more fun and a lot more nice to be in than the races like wreck. And for a while, this league, NORC, had a reputation of being a mean league, where you know, oh, those guys, all they do is just wreck the whole time. But you know, really, we don't. I mean, we have really good racing. I feel like this last season has been fantastic. Granted, the short track races, they're a bit of a mess, but iRacing short track races, they're always a mess, no matter what league it is. So I've been really happy with what's been going on in this league so far. This season it's been really nice to actually race and not worry about drama 24/7.
It's been a blast to watch. It's been an honor to cover. I speak on behalf of everybody at Pit Stop TV because this has been through and through one of our favorite series to cover, and we've got 6 races still to go. For you though, John, who do you have to thank? Who makes runs like tonight possible? It's going to be a great points night for you as well. This second place finish, who makes it happen for you?
First, I'd like to thank you guys for doing the broadcasting. Again, I know everybody tells you this. I want to tell you guys every week. You guys do an amazing job. Honestly, if you guys were put on Fox or NBC, you guys were commentating, honestly, it'd probably be better than the real life thing. To be honest with you, it'd be a lot better than having like Steve Letarte and all those guys yelling at you 24/7. But you guys are amazing broadcasters. I like to give a shout out. I like to give a shout out to Terrell Baker. He did an amazing job tonight. I know sometimes he kind of, goes in Mr. Yeehaw mode, but he did an amazing job tonight. Terrell has really improved. So shout out to Terrell. Shout out to Daniel for winning every single race and kind of making us all look bad. Shout out to my wife, Miranda, love you. And also shout out to my gas guy, oh my god, I literally forgot his name, he's gonna kill me for this. Shout out to my gas guy, Dylan, who does an amazing job at AGS doing all this stuff, working like double shifts all the time. He's a great employee, and we're very lucky to have him where we work at. I know sometimes, him and one of our bosses kind of get into it, but, Dylan, he's an awesome dude, and I love working with him.
Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words, John. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on a great run here tonight, and we're excited to see what you have in store for these remaining 6 races. The rest of this chase is going to be fun to watch. Great job tonight on the runner-up spot, bud.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And again, that is John Berry, who, I don't know about you, Andrew, but I was quite flattered by some of the remarks that he had to pass along there. So that's great to hear. And somebody else that he was just tipping a cap to was that of Mr. TCB. Our third-place finisher is standing alongside with Andrew Cardinale IV.
And he had to wait just a little bit there, just like he had to wait for the strategy to come to full completion. It was third place for you tonight, TCB. It's not quite that win that you almost had, but how did things shape out for you? I mean, you were fast from the get-go, then had to wait on that run to come through and come to fruition. How did the car feel overall, and what was the, I guess the kicker to get you into that position in the first place?
Well, honestly, the car is really good. I'm really good at Indianapolis for some reason. I don't know why I'm good there, but I knew from the first laps I put down on practice, I knew I was going to be fast, and it translated to qualifying. I messed up a little bit there, but nevertheless, as soon as the drop of the green flag came out, I was second, and then I ran down Daniel. But since then, I just knew, I was like, all right, we might actually have a chance to see like if I could win today or whatever. And then we had a caution early. And then on, I was just kind of riding around. I think we pit and then Daniel stayed out. And, I was just around. The car was feeling really good. It did over the run get a little bit tight. It did run out my right front a little bit. But then Jared caught us, and I was just trying to hang on. And then I wasn't expecting that long of a run, man. To be honest with you guys and everybody watching, I've never had to clutch a car going into a corner and save fuel, so that was something brand new for me, and I was very thankful that I was able to bring home third out of that.
Yeah, you had some great starts to runs and a couple of other great runs shining through, but this has to easily go down as your best run of the season. I know you barely missed out last week of having a chance to win and get yourself in as a wild card for the chase, but this does kind of allow you, doesn't it, to focus on just going out there, getting race wins, and I think getting back to where you should be in the conversation in one of the top 10 drivers of the league.
Oh, absolutely. My mindset's exactly what you just said. I'm here to win now. In the beginning of the season, it was really tough as I hadn't driven these cars in like 2 years, and then coming to a track like Indianapolis or even next week Texas, I'm really good there. So going to these tracks that I know I'm good at definitely builds on momentum, and looking into next week, another track that I'm really good at. So it can only go up from here, Andrew, honestly.
Certainly a bright future for Terrell Baker, at least for the rest of the season, and I'm sure on to next season as well. Buddy, 15 laps led, third place. You were in the conversation for the win from the drop of the green flag. We talked about that 25 car a lot. What do you have to say to TCB Nation and everybody else who cheers you on and supports you?
TCB Nation, I love you. I love every single one of y'all. I appreciate everybody watching. You guys have put this on, this broadcast. I can't wait to go back and actually watch it. It's actually when I can actually go back and watch because I actually finished. But yeah, thank you, Pit Stop TV. Thank you, John Berry, for putting this on. This league is amazing. I know it's been going for a long time. I've been a part of it for a long time. Congrats to Daniel, by the way, for the win. I'd like to thank everybody that worked so hard on Team TCB Motorsports back upstate New York. My two teammates, Sean and Cody, for pushing me, and my girl watching, and again, all the fans, TCB Nation, I love you all.
Yeah, I said after Daniel's interview that I was up in his neck of the woods earlier on, literally yesterday, and I think maybe that is, I'd like to think that's why he did so well tonight. Maybe that's why you ran up there. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of science to that. We'll see. But, buddy, congratulations, seriously. A really, really good day for you, and I can't wait to see what you do in the next 6 races of the season.
Thank you very much. Yeah!
So TCB gets things wrapped up from Indianapolis, and again, it's a really solid run for Terrell Baker. I can't get over it. I mean, the whole top three doing really, really good things this evening. Of course, Daniel Falkingham leading the show, but TCB, I think, has got to be right there on number 2, maybe even on some power rankings this week. We'll see. TCB, a really, really good run this evening, and I think cementing himself as still one of the drivers that you have to watch out for week in and week out here in the NORC iRacing Series.
Yeah, I got to admit, I kind of like the podium version of the EHA as opposed to the green flag version. There was a little bit more hype there. Hard to believe that he can get more excited than when we start these NORC races, but happy to see him finally get some of the results that match the pace we've seen out of him numerous times this season. And TCB Nation is a strong one. They make a lot of noise out there in some of the YouTube chats and whatnot that we have up and running with these Pit Stop TV broadcasts, so they all got something to celebrate here tonight. And I kind of hope for his sake he may not be in contention perhaps for a championship opportunity, but I would like to see that 25 car in victory lane in these final 6 races here, and odds are that may happen the way he's running.
It certainly may, as we take a look at the results now. I think TCB after tonight certainly has a bright rest of the season ahead for him. We talked to the top 3, Daniel Falkingham, John Berry, Terrell Baker. You see the rest of the top 10 here after that wild final lap, but of course the wild evening as a whole. Ariotti takes home 4th place. That's really good for Ari. Granted, he started first. Still a really, really solid night for the 23 car. And Sean Williams finishing in 5th. That is huge for Sean to move up 4 positions unofficially so far in the chase. It may or may not be enough to vault him into championship contention, but certainly is going to put him right in the conversation with everybody else all the way on up to 3rd, maybe even 2nd when it's all said and done. So Sean Williams getting things done this evening, and Brett Pancari in 6th. Also a very, very strong run. Jared Darling, how about that? Another great run for another one of the chase contenders. He finishes 7th this evening. Maybe left a little bit out there to be hoping for, but still a really good run in that 7 car, the 1 car, finishing 7th, especially given that extra pit stop he had to take. And let's not forget Spencer Owens holding on to a 9th place finishing position, as well as Tommy Gossett eking out a top 10, 34 seconds back with that damaged 10 car.
Now we're going to start to get some of the drivers who did not have as much luck as they wanted coming to the finish line. Hayes Booth, who we saw kind of frustratedly get to the checkered flag there towards the end of this one at 11th. David Schutt was involved in a couple of skirmishes tonight. The driver in car 5, who was 5th in points, was 12. Tom Mercier, who was up and down the running order a couple of times tonight, 13th. And Cody Miller, another one of the chase contenders, 14th, while Sheldon Lockey stayed on the lead lap all night long in 15th spot. And Jared Wishon rounding out the last car on the lead lap in his 2nd start of the season. Chad Oxendine involved in the big crash on the final lap. That's a heartbreaker for the driver who was 4th in the standings coming into tonight, 1 lap down at 17. Spencer Ray caught off strategy, caught a lap down for most of the race in 18th. And Zach Lindgren, another one of the chase contenders who just had a pit stop from hell, had to settle for 19th position, while Michael Keithley takes you through your top 20.
Finishing 21st this evening, it's Patrick Colby 2 laps down, and oh my goodness, heartbreak for Howie Briss. Certainly issues compounding. He was not 22nd when we last saw him, but something, he may have actually run out of fuel, who knows. Howie Briss coming home 22nd, 4 laps down. That's going to drop him. Well, I shouldn't say drop him anywhere, but it's going to keep him well out of championship contention at this point. He did still make the chase, and he can still battle for plenty of positions, but it's going to be a long, long road ahead for the 97 team. He finishes in front of Cole Freilich, who ends up, I believe, and we don't know all the circumstances around this just yet, but I believe being removed from the session after issues with David Schutt. Will Klein does come home behind him in 24th, and again, we had the problems for Will Klein very early in this race, and he actually is tied currently with Howie Briss for the bottom step in the chase now. Bobby Chaney finishes 25th, and Matt Hummel finishes 26th after their skirmish earlier on, their caution flag out of turn number 4, and it was a big, big wreck. Really big wreck out of turn 4, actually. That gets it done, though. 26 cars, and I think we talked about most of, if not all of them tonight. I mean, we were all over the field tonight. There might have been a couple that slipped through the cracks. I mean, we talked about Michael Keithley. We talked about Tom Mercier, Cody Miller a little bit. I'd like to think we talked about darn near everybody in this field this week, and there was a lot to talk about for every single one of them, Eric.
if we think back to, I believe it was the 2011 Brickyard 400, where Paul Menard was able to stretch the fuel mileage and grab his one and only Cup Series win. I mean, this track does have a bit of a reputation for having events like what we had tonight. But the one thing I love is that it created a formula which has pretty much been on par with the entire NORC season, where we have drivers who are vying for a championship in the mix. We have drivers who are going for simply a race win at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway who were in the mix. And I like the fact that you kind of referenced that we spoke about a lot of different drivers on a number of occasions tonight, not just through through the field occasions and whatnot. We never really had a chance to do it through the field because there was so much happening on the racetrack, simply because they were cycling their way up into contention all throughout with so many different avenues for this race to take, and we only had one caution. That's the beauty of NORC. That's why this series and this championship is so, I'll use the term again, illustrious, is because it certainly means something with this type of field, the type of racing, and the type of talent that we have. And I think this race was the perfect place setter to kick off this 7-race stretch towards that championship, because it gave us all of that and more.
Of course, we always ask these drivers who they want to thank, and we talk about thanking even the league here all the time, and they thank us even sometimes for this amazing racing. But the amazing racing that we talk about and talk about every single driver, none of it would be possible without our partners here at Pit Stop TV that we want to give a big thanks to. Of course, Tucson Sound Art, where your picture is your music. Use promo code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order, as well as Race Pace Setups, the official road setup provider. Wow, as Tom Mercier comes into your living room right there, the official road setup provider of Pit Stop TV, as well as Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Ashley Bollier and her team of specialists doing great things up there. In fact, my brother and my sister-in-law actually just got facials there. We were up in Maine, and they were able to go to Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine and get facials yesterday, and certainly have become believers of what they're doing over there at Permanent Makeup in Maine. It's really incredible stuff, what they have going on. Ashley Bollier, Evan Bollier, and their entire team of specialists through their multiple locations as well: Auburn, Lewiston, Saco, Naples, Harrison. I mean, there are so many places, and certainly branching out. Of course, a big thank you as well to Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV, as well as BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan for the racing community. And Eric, we can go on and on and on, but I want to sum up one thing about Daniel Falkingham's season so far. If we look through the wins list, the all-time wins list, Daniel Falkingham has gone from being tied with David Schutt, and now would be tied with Cody Miller and Chad Oxendine, to now surpassing Benjamin Nelson in wins and actually breaking that tie back at Atlanta, now doing him one better, and is now at 11 total race wins. One win behind Freddie De La Rosa. And for the longtime NORC viewers here, Freddie De La Rosa has a lot of wins. And I mean, you go back and think about all the times that he either did really well or won races. I mean, he was always the talk of the town, along with so many other drivers way back when. The fact that Daniel Falkingham is about to surpass Freddie De La Rosa is pretty incredible. The other incredible part about this season is Zoltan Hergzeg last week with his win at Daytona, Eric. He actually broke his tie with Freddie De La Rosa and took outright 4th place on the all-time wins list. It's pretty incredible what these two are doing this season, especially Daniel. From 4 wins up to 11 in one season is beyond me, and it's not like Daniel's brand new either. He's been here for a while. It's just been his breakout year. And getting things done at a track where we have one driver in this all-time win list, fun fact, that got his only win here at Indianapolis. That was Connor Anton way back in, I gotta check it again, season 2 in 2015. So there's a lot of crazy numbers that you can go on and on about forever, but we do want to mention the upcoming broadcasts here on Pit Stop TV. We've got a lot of them coming here, Eric, and we'll take a look at 3 of them here, the most upcoming 3. Tomorrow night, we've got the Cars Esport Tour at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. In fact, just 2 nights ago, August 15th, it was, hang on, I gotta check the date. I've been lost. Yes, 2 days ago. That's what I thought. 2 days ago, on August 15th, was 1 year since the last race at Myrtle Beach Speedway. I was so fortunate to be able to be there with the whole TV crew and on camera at Myrtle Beach Speedway. It's incredible that we get to go back a year later and see it in the sim with some late model stocks and race there tomorrow night. Along with it tomorrow night, we've got the Bristol Motor Speedway with dirt on it. That's going to be interesting. And Eric, this is a big preview as what we might see with NORC here in the chase.
That you actually took the words out of my mouth there. I was about to say that Outlaw Sim Series event. First off, hats off to everybody here on the platform at Pit Stop TV. We have a good crew, a great crew. I won't say good crew, a great crew of people who work to make these broadcasts possible. Wednesday night's been one of those double headers for the last few weeks that we've had here, so we have all hands on deck to cover both of those events. And I'm with you. I think while I'm hyped to be a part of the Cars Esports Tour team for the first time this season, I know that if we happen to wrap up on time, I'm going to switch on over and check out that Outlaw Sim Series event there on the dirt track at Bristol, because we got just 2 races before these NORC competitors are put in a similar situation, and there is a lot on the line there. And if the pavement stuff doesn't get you going, if the dirt oval stuff doesn't get you going, we've got some road racing action to carry things home for us on Thursday nights from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to go to Mosport later this week. Canadian Tire is going to be a lot of fun, especially with those GT3 cars. And that is a series that if you're here for oval racing or dirt racing, whatever, I think you've got to put that on your radar in order to get into road racing. It's been fantastic stuff over there with Scott Reister and everybody at the North American Racing League putting on a fantastic season so far. And we've got a lot more in the works with them. I'll just leave it there. You might want to keep an eye out on social media for more with the North American Racing League in the coming weeks. We can find updates for all of these broadcasts and a whole lot more. Where can we find them here, Eric? We can find them at these social media links we showed a little bit ago, but facebook.com/pitstoptv, twitter.com/pitstoptv_, as well as instagram.com/pit_stop_tv, twitch.tv/pit_stop_tv, and youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1.
Yeah, like I said, when we wrap up with our Cars Esports stuff tomorrow, I usually hop in bed, I throw on the Roku TV, I go right to the YouTube app, and I try to check out whatever's going on here. So many ways there. And I will say, one of the favorite elements we've introduced here on the platform over the last few weeks is I think we've upped the ante on some of the social media stuff we're able to put together. I love the fan interaction. I love the poll options that we're putting out there. So much hard work is going into not only growing our brand, but also trying to help these series get some additional recognition and eyeballs on them, because they're, especially when you got a series like NORC, there is so much good racing going on. The best way to get the people involved is to point them to where they can stay up to date on all that's happening. That is the way in which you could all do so, and we offer a lot of opportunities for people to stay on par with what we got cooking here tonight. And I'll say that tonight Emerson Arden did what we have all of our social media members and company do when they're in that slot and in that role, hitting it out of the park. I checked on over Instagram just a short bit ago, and I saw already that the news was out that Daniel Falkingham was on a tear. So that's how we do here at Pit Stop on the social media side, and there are so many options and avenues to take.
Certainly, it's been a wonderful time getting things going. I like what you mentioned there, expanding some of the brands here for Pit Stop TV and the other leagues around that we're covering. We have certainly been hammering things hard. A big shout out to Emerson Arden and Trey Shuttlesworth. I don't know if anybody noticed it, and this is kind of getting into extended post-race coverage here, but I really want to give a big thank you for anybody else still watching or watching after the fact. A big thank you to Emerson Arden and Trey Shuttlesworth for holding down the summer here at Pit Stop TV. We've been tried a couple of times. It's certainly been very, very stressful these last several weeks, but I was gone a lot, especially in the midweek when we have our meat and potatoes of our weekly broadcast schedule. There were some weeks that I would prep this stuff for these guys, and they would execute every single broadcast to a T. Fantastic stuff, fantastic work from these guys, as well as rolling out a brand new social media schedule each and every week, and certainly try and hit you guys with some really good social media content lately. And again, Trey Shuttlesworth, Emerson Arden doing the Lord's work, it seems like. Fantastic stuff from those two, and again, my utmost gratitude to each of them. I think that does it. We've kind of gotten a little bit mixed around here, Eric, and my mojo was a little bit thrown off as far as closing out the broadcast, but I do also want to say it's great to have you back on a NORC broadcast. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I've had a lot going on. Been on the road a little bit. Not as much as you, though. I want to just tip my cap to you driving home. You pulled a red eye, not a flight.
Don't get me started.
In order to, including some areas which you may or may not be too totally fond of, but nevertheless, sounds like it was a fun trip. But the good news, of course, and I hate to shift to a somewhat serious note here, but the good news, of course, is you got back safely. And I know a lot of people in our area are getting backhanded by Mother Nature. In fact, we're getting set to endure a second round of some pretty significant storms. So I'm glad we got the broadcast in before that happens. Might be a little while before we get some shed-eye here tonight with how wild Mother Nature will be. But I will tell you, it's great to be back. I'm excited for the Cars Tour event tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to how the rest of this chase pans out. I'm addicted to this NORC stuff. These guys put on incredible racing products, and it truly gives me something to look forward to each and every Tuesday night, as does every pit stop broadcast that I'm a part of.
Yeah, I do want to quickly give a big, thoughts and prayers, T's and P's, and whatever you want to call it, to everybody in the Triad, I think they call it, the Piedmont area, whatever it gets called around here. And especially the west side of the state here in North Carolina and the surrounding areas, South Carolina, northern Georgia, starting to get up into eastern Tennessee and southwestern Virginia. A lot of pretty serious storms coming through. We had some tornadoes just a few miles away from Pit Stop TV HQ here. It's been pretty wild throughout the day. In fact, I got home at 7 in the morning this morning from Maine. I woke up, I don't know, around 11, maybe 12, and I look at my phone, and there's a tornado warning. And I was definitely confused by that, but I'm glad I drove through the night, like you said. Drove through the night, pulled a red eye. It was painful. I had to stop a couple times, take a couple naps, but I drove through the night as best as I could and got here before those tornadoes happened to the north of us as well, so I would have had to drive through it. So that, but I did. Hey, you know what? It's cool to drive through 20% of the country in one weekend. That's pretty insane. However, we'll cut things there, and I do want to thank again, especially Emerson Arden and Trey Shuttlesworth. And there's others that I could go on and mention as well, and everybody here at Pit Stop TV has done a great job of making a lot of things happen and giving us a great summer of content here for the channel. And something that started a few years back now is very, very small out of my bedroom in high school has turned into something pretty darn cool, and it's an honor to see everybody put in their hard work. And it's so cool to get the high acclaim and appreciation of so many drivers, leagues, and otherwise, and I do really want to appreciate everybody. But I'll stop the sappiness there, and I do want to, again, just make sure before we go to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, the whole shebang. But that will do it from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Happy to have had you all here, and well, tuning in and joining us for tonight's action. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. For all of Pit Stop TV, and specifically those of us on the broadcast this evening, Eric Brennan alongside on commentary with me, and Emerson Arden moving over to social media for the first time in a little bit here on Pit Stop TV. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.